I would like to advise all those present that notice of this meeting has been provided to the public in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, and that notice was published in the Jersey Journal, the city website. Copies were provided in the Hoboken Reporter, the Record, the Newark Star Ledger, and also placed in the bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall. Written objections, if any, shall be made to the city clerk. Please rise to salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Cohen?
Present.
Mr. Fusco?
Present.
Mr. Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Falco?
Here.
Ms. Fisher?
Here.
Mrs. Jabor?
Here.
Mr. Ramos? Mr. Russo?
Here.
President Giantino?
Here.
Is Ruben in?
Councilman
Ruben.
Ramos?
Ruben, you there?
I don't think so.
Okay. So now we have a,
For some reason, Ruben is in as a attendee.
maybe he's Jerry. Could he be Jerry? No. Well, we have now, starting the meeting, a public hearing for the 2021 budget for the Hoboken Business Alliance Special Improvement District, and the hearing is now open.
Thank you. If any of the attendees, one already raised their hand, would like to speak on the public hearing for the HBA, just please raise your hand.
Okay.
Thank
All right, we got him. All right, good.
Hello, I'm sorry, I can't see your last name, but Adita?
Yes, good evening. Good evening, members of the council. My name is Adita Espasa. I represent SJP Properties, the owner of the Waterfront Corporate Center at 121 and 221 River Street. I have been a member of the Hoboken Business Alliance since its inception, and I currently serve as the executive board's vice president. To start, I would like to thank the council and the administration for the support given thus far in these trying and critical times that 2020 has thrusted upon the Hoboken community. I'm proud to say that HBA did not let COVID defeat our short-term goals we have set out to accomplish during our startup year. In less than 12 months, we were able to gain traction in our business community and energize it with much needed support programs and visual improvements, which, by the way, our members have put many hours working on those programs and improvements. With everyone's fantastic passion and ideas, we were able to accomplish several programs that have previously been presented to the council in the last meeting by our director and the president. Our efforts are visible throughout the district. Since the start of our activities, more businesses are interested in our programs and activities. With our presence, we have garnered new board members. More businesses want to join us and contribute their vision to the success of the Hoboken business community. The work of HBA directly contributes to elevating Hoboken community, which is why SJP stands with HBA. Any improvement to our community has direct positive impact on our properties, which benefit our tenants greatly. I fully support the approval of the 2021 budget and respectfully ask the council to vote yes tonight. Thank you very much for your consideration and have a good night.
Thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Hello, Rose.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm glad I'm not in the snow right now. Okay, I'm here to speak about the Hoboken Business Alliance. I know you all understand how I feel about this. And going over this budget, it really is quite disheartening that rent is being paid to the president of the HBA Association. We have salaries of $135,000 and reserves hardship for what, I don't know. I went to the appeal process. I was the only one to appeal it. And 9 months later, after I said something at the last meeting, I got a letter of rejection. No surprise. I was the only one. So a lot of this is just a lot of boo-hoo-ha. Businesses are not the only ones that are having hardships right now. There are lots of people having hardships. Landlords especially are having hardships here. It's like the elephant in the room nobody wants to speak about. Everyone has moved out of town. And here we are taxing people and taxing people. And this is not only just a tax for me, this is my actual income that you're just saying, oh, well, too bad. We're going to take your income to support someone else. Well, who's here to help us? There isn't one person on that board that represents a landlord like me. You just heard from a woman. It's a developer. There's like 4 developers on that board. I've asked to be on it for 2 years now. No one wants to put me on that board. And I know why, but I'm sure you all know why I'm not on that board. So I really do not support this. If you want to, you should put something out again and ask these businesses and people like me, do we support this? Yeah, support it for them. If they want it, they benefit, let them pay it. I don't understand why my salary, because that's what I live on, this property, that I'm already losing money via lost income because my rents had to be decreased. I sat with empty apartments for months, and here you could help one of these landlords, put the office in their building, pay them the rent. Like I said, I don't know why it's going back to somebody who's on the board. I mean, a little bit of a conflict of interest, but hey, what do I know? I guess that's all I have to say about it. I know you're probably going to just pass it anyway because you did last time. And that's it. Have a nice holiday, everyone. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you for your time. Happy holidays.
Mhm.
Hello, Sam Bram.
Hi, Jen, and hi, everybody. Thank you to the council for hosting this meeting. I am one of the owners of Brook and Bell, which is a new small business in Hoboken. We're located on 4th Street between Hudson and Washington. And I just wanted to get onto this to explain our experience with the Hoboken Business Alliance. So when Brooke and I entered the community, we really wanted to thank 2 organizations in particular, one of them being Hoboken Girl and one of them being the Hoboken Business Alliance, because when we came into the community, we were really welcomed by them. We got introduced to other small business owners, such as Megan from Washington General Store, and different female business owners in town. And there's a number of programs that they've done to support us during these times. Obviously, opening during the pandemic was really difficult. And the Hoboken Business Alliance did different programs like gift card incentives in order to have people around the community shop at our small business. They did a window decorating contest this month in order to get all the businesses to come together and support each other. And these are just 2 small things that we've participated in throughout our 6 months open. And we actually couldn't even believe that they've only been operating for a year, because whenever we interact with anybody on their team, they're super professional and organized and happy to help us. So we just wanted to get on and support them because they've been such a support to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Hello, Salvona.
Hello, members of the HBA and members of the council. Thank you for hosting this. This is really my first time participating in one of these meetings. By way of introduction, I am a small landlord in Hoboken. I own a few commercial properties on Washington Street and then some residential units within Hoboken. My overall commentary is that, having seen what these business improvement districts can do in New York City, I'm excited that actually this has happened to Hoboken and that the HBA has come into existence. And I look forward to the benefits that I think this could really bring. I saw what it did in Manhattan, and it really was a huge complement to the municipal services that the city offers. My one concern with what I see in Hoboken is the homeless situation. It's getting worse and worse, and I'm hoping that with the HBA and as we get past the pandemic, we can hopefully do something to curb this. It doesn't help small businesses when they have to come to their storefronts in the morning to find a homeless person sleeping there. And I feel sorry for these people, I truly do, but the businesses that we rent to are cleaning up after these homeless people on a regular basis, and we're constantly calling the police to help with this. I just hope that there's something that can be done with the HBA to try to promote doing something to help the businesses who have to deal with this on a day-to-day basis. And I hope I can, myself personally, I'm happy to help in any which way I can, because I do know that this would definitely be a benefit to all residents, be it commercial, be it residential. I know a lot of people who want to live in Hoboken, who enjoy Hoboken. I see people who are leaving Manhattan but don't want to leave the urban environment and are coming to Hoboken. So if we can clean up our streets and improve our community, this will be a huge plus going forward. But again, if any type of help with the homeless situation would be great. Thank you again for all the hard work, and happy holidays to all.
Happy holidays. Thank you for your time.
Hello, is this me? Hello?
It is I.
Who's that?
Okay, all right. Hello?
I can hear you. Who is it?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. Yeah, so my name is Jessica Coco, and I mean, the fact of the matter is they've already have acknowledged, the Department of Commerce, that the lockdown measures are going to be indefinite, whether there's going to be vaccines or not. And in this question, then the businesses are not going to survive. I think something that no one is talking about is the fact that these lockdown measures are not really about COVID. That's why you have all of these inconsistent rules about masks, inconsistent rules about curfews. It's really about the fact that we have entered into Great Depression too. And this is not what I'm calling it. This is what economists are calling it. And we all remember what happened in 2008 during the mortgage crisis. Occupy popped up. So, I mean, it's quite simple. COVID is a distraction from the fact that we're in Great Depression too. I know that there are businesses here, and if they continue to comply with the orders, they're not going to stay in business. I would really suggest that if you're a business, please check out the Anti-Lockdown Business Alliance, New York/New Jersey. And
Lost her?
She's muted now, it seems.
hi, can you hear me again?
Yes, we can again.
Okay, did you hear anything of that I said? I don't know.
Council President.
Good. Till about.
We heard everything up
heard
to,
everything.
I think, with the last 15 seconds.
Oh, okay, so I just asked people to go on Facebook, and please go on, if you're a business, Anti-Lockdown Business Alliance of New York dash New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
I think I think though, Jessica was the first one. The rest of them were coming on as their, we'll see with this person. This is Adam. Oh, okay. Hello, Adam. There we go.
As long as the
Good
record.
evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? Yeah, my name is Adam Smith. I'm a Hoboken business owner over the last 7 years or so. And I'm really excited about the HBA overall. I actually had an idea like this in my head 2 or 3 years ago. I started asking around, and before I know it, I was in touch with the board over there and just saw all the great things they're doing. I'm also on the Hoboken Hospitality Alliance leadership team, and it's been great to have HBA as a supporter, a teammate, if you will, in the industry to help us help the industry that much further, especially in Hoboken. It's great to have a resource, for my businesses to bounce ideas off of, and when ideas do strike, to have the resources to make things happen, similar to what we're doing now currently with the holiday gift card giveaway. In supporting 100+ businesses in town, which has been really great. This goes without saying, but now more than ever, businesses need support from consumers are great, of course, but added incentive and support from the Hoboken Business Alliance is absolutely critical. And as HBA hits its stride, I know it's in year 1, soon to be year 2. We as a city will be better for it and have been better for it. And it's right now, and I don't think it's too exaggerating to say it's life or death in terms of business terms. That without pumping the economy in Q1 and early Q2, I fear the worst. And so without HBA, I'd be even more fearful. So I couldn't support the HBA enough. And I hope to see growth continue to happen in Hoboken. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Hello?
Hello, Joanne. Good evening.
Hi.
Please
Good
state your
evening.
name.
How are you?
Great, thank you.
Great. I am Joanne Castellito Perkins. I am the daughter of Dominic and Flo Castellito that owns Dom's Bakery. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to
Hello.
give a big kudos out to the Hoboken Business Alliance. I think that what they're doing for the city is fantastic, and I can't wait to see what they have in store next. It was great that they actually could, block the streets and give the business owners up there an opportunity to make some more money during this terrible pandemic. And I just wanted to give them a really, really big kudos and thank them for everything that they're doing.
Thank you so much for calling in. Much appreciated.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good holiday.
You too. Take care. Hello, Eddie. Could you please state your name for the record? Oh, and unmute.
Hi, my name is Eddie Janeo. I own Wise Vision, Fort Washington. My father opened the store about 42 years ago. So obviously, I'm born and raised in Hoboken. We've obviously had the business in Hoboken for a very, very long time. And we've actually relocating and everything. So the Hoboken Business Alliance has been really great. I think they've come up with some really great ideas. I know it's hard to do these things, and I can't imagine what the budget looks like for next year and trying to get the city back on track. And everybody's hurting, and I feel bad because I see these businesses that I grew up with, and they're closing down, and you see it left and right. So, but we need to do something. I mean, the city of Hoboken is I've seen so many changes, and it's getting so much better. And I think we need to have great people that are going to continue bringing it back to life and bringing it to the Hoboken that everyone loves and that can prosper, and everybody can prosper, and that great community effort. So I know I can only imagine how hard it's going to, it's tricky to put everything in a budget, but I think the Hoboken Business Alliance definitely needs support from everybody. And I look forward to working with them more in 2021 and becoming more and more a part of it as we grow into it. So, and I want to thank you guys, everyone, for their time and opinions. And it's great to be here, and thank you. And I hope everyone has a great holiday.
Thank you. You as well. Good evening, Cheryl Fallick.
Oh, hi. Yeah, see, sort of a new way of getting into meetings. So can you all hear me? Yes?
Perfectly.
Okay. So this is the hearing for the Hoboken Business Alliance. Is that correct? Okay. And I just wanted to pop on to speak in support of what the Hoboken Business Alliance has done. I'm not totally aware of it, but it's definitely in the periphery. I see some things that they've done that have presumably helped the businesses. I'm not a business owner. And kind of the comments that I wanted to maybe suggest to them for next year. There is the multifamily owners who I think kind of rightfully feel that there hasn't been some attention on them. But I also, from what I understand, think that's because, this was the first year and now we're going to look for ways that I guess the Business Alliance would call them commercial residential businesses somehow, that they could see some benefits. And my suggestion would be, and it's just a suggestion for people to think about, in terms of what's happened in the last few months, the clients that I've had, and I have a real estate license now, are folks that didn't know that they could actually afford Hoboken. They were in Jersey City, they're moving here, and they have rented in some of our older buildings, our more sort of traditional rentals. And if the Hoboken Alliance on some of the events that they have, they just recently did something with the city for Christmas, which was terrific. My computer froze. I couldn't see the whole thing, but it was really terrific. And it's Christmas, so it would be something that's naturally would be something that's family oriented. But maybe the Hoboken Business Alliance could project out to the world that we are something other than just a family friendly community, because many of your older buildings that we want to protect are actually smaller units. I myself came to Hoboken because of the music scene that was here, maybe not here so much anymore. But if they could think in terms of this, we do have a broader constituency, or maybe we can try to pull back a broader constituency. Nothing against promoting Hoboken as family friendly. And again, as I said, the Christmas event, Christmas, you think of children and Christmas, but let's think about maybe attracting other people that may be, sort of a different demographic, a different cultural demographic. Bohemian is fine. They don't need, to the huge luxury dwellings, which are also fine, but maybe thinking in terms of really putting emphasis on what the properties that have been here for a long time and the multifamily property owners need. We can attract them, and they're delighted. Like the couple of clients that I've brought in were like, "Oh my God, I love Hoboken. I can afford to live here, or I can come back to here, or whatever it was." So that's just a suggestion. I don't mean that to be a criticism at all, because I think that the Hoboken Business Alliance is a good thing. And while it's not something that I pay that much attention to overall, just as a resident of Hoboken, you can tell that they're working, they're trying, and they're trying to make it a better Hoboken. So kudos to them. I don't know how, do I just
Thank you.
click leave now? Is
Nope,
that what I
do
do?
it. You don't have to do anything. Hello, Mr. Ahmed.
Hello. Hey, council members. Hello, Madam President. I just wanted to take a moment of your time to discuss the HBA. We appreciate your support for the Hoboken Business Alliance and your continued support for the Alliance, along with the budget that we're asking you to review and pass tonight. I wanted to clarify a few points that were made earlier about the Alliance. For those of you that don't understand how the Alliance works, we are all volunteers or unpaid volunteers. I've been in it now for about 3 years and going. It was a long process to get this started, and we're starting to see the fruits of it. This was our first year where you got to see some of the things that we did, whether it was participating and helping with the streeteries, the barricades, some of the marketing techniques that we've used throughout the city, whether you've seen the holiday lights that were put up recently, and there are many more things to come, including the flowers and other visual and marketing things that we decided to deploy in this first year, which was a very tough year due to the pandemic, but nevertheless a very successful year. Another point I want to bring up was what Cheryl Fallick just made. She's absolutely right. Hoboken is a very diverse and welcoming city. It represents from young to middle-aged to old. And it's something that, as a part of the Business Alliance, we want people to know about it. We want to get the message out there. One of the other things I wanted to point out for those of you, just if you could see what something similar to the Business Alliance did years back, it was under actually Councilman Russo's father. The Southern Waterfront was a big investment that paid immense dividends to the rest of the city. It totally recreated the waterfront, the Southern Waterfront, including with Pier A and Pier C and the parks. And it was something that assisted and helped the entire city as a whole, advance the city. So we'd like you to look at the Hoboken Business Alliance as an extension of that, as something, as a tool. Now, it's hard for landlords sometimes to say, look, I own an 8-family on 6th in a row. How is this helping me? And it's something that you will see gradually over time. What we're doing now is we're trying to attract more people to the city of Hoboken to show all the things that we all know and love about Hoboken to other people. And it will result in a gradual lifting of all business owners, all property owners, all renters that get to enjoy the things that we are putting in and bringing online year after year after year. Another point I wanted to clarify that was made, there was a point or a shot taken at one of our board members that we rent space from. Just to be clear and to put it on the record, that space we used for over a period of 2 years at absolutely no rent. And when it came time to rent the space, we looked at leases that were on the market and we had the best possible deal from that tenant. I don't want anybody to think that there's any shenanigans or anything odd going on. Literally, it was the best rent that we could find. So, and Councilwoman Fisher, who's been a very strong part of the CID, could also, I'm sure, attest to that. So it's just something I wanted to clarify or clear up. You know, all of the members give an enormous amount of their time free of charge to the city because they all have the same thing in mind. They want to create a more vibrant Hoboken. They want to add to the great place that it is. They want people to know about it and also share in that. So I just ask for your support on this budget. I appreciate your trust and confidence. And for those of you that are not quite there yet, you know, give us time. We'll earn your trust and confidence. And we appreciate your faith in us and continue to want to work with you in, again, doing everything we can to enhance the city of Hoboken. Just like all of you do, we know that, you know, you put in tireless hours too, and it's not for the amount of money that you get paid on the council. If you broke it down to hours, I think you guys would probably get paid less than $1 an hour. So again, we appreciate your support and look forward to seeing another fruitful year out of the Hoboken Business Alliance. Thank you.
Jen, you're on mute.
Good evening, Pat Patel. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Hey, how you guys doing? Happy holidays to you and your families. I'm Pat Patel. I'm a local business owner. I have 2 businesses, one on 6th and Adams, Caparino's Liquors, and one on 5th and Monroe, Auto Liquors. Also was a realtor with Mary Knapp at Riverside when it used to be Riverside. And I am now with BCB Bank as a loan officer and business development officer. But as a business owner and someone who's been in Hoboken since 16 years, I think what Greg and his team are doing is vital, especially now coming out of the virus. Small businesses need as much support as possible. In the last, I would say, 9 months, as a current business owner, I know we've exhausted most of our savings into just staying alive and breaking even, making sure our guys get paid. And if HBA, which I failed to mention, but I recently just became a board member of, and is to bring insight as a small business owner to HBA so we can improve and grow upon what we're trying to do. So I'm hoping to bring that, but I know with my interactions with Greg, with seeing what HBA has been doing, small businesses definitely need the resources and a support from for an organization like HBA. And in regards to Greg, I don't think there's no one better than Greg to lead HBA going forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Have a great evening. Hello, Ms. Waiters. Can you unmute, please?
He said to unmute. You can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Pat Waiters. All right, turn off the phone. You turned it off? Okay, now you can hear me?
Yes.
My daughter turned off the phone. I just heard a little bit of the last speakers that spoke, because when I go in and out some stores, they was asking me, a lot of business owners, about the grant. How do they do that process where they can apply for the grant? A couple of years ago, when they had Hurricane Sandy and the other storm, they was able to apply for a grant, and you guys also raised money, because I watched the concert where you raised money for the small business owners. Could you, what do they have to do? Do they apply through the city, or, because one or two stores I stopped in, I was told that they said they didn't beat the deadline or something, and they applied and they was rejected because they didn't they didn't qualify, they didn't sign an application on time. So could you make that clear? Because I know a lot of small business owners that's really good in this community and came to some of our defenses when the hurricane and stuff was real bad, and even fed us, especially the Rosario's Pizza and a few other businesses. So could you please explain to them what do they have to do the application for the grant?
There's so many different grants, Patricia, that were out there. I don't know which one.
I'm talking about ours, the one that you guys do, like when you have the concert and all of that, the ones for the city.
That one for the time being is closed, but we actually had a meeting the other day, and we're talking about reopening it. So there may be another opportunity in the future.
Council President, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All righty, you too.
Good evening, Mr. Delaquila.
How are you? How are you, council persons? Greg Delaquila, president of the Hoboken Business Alliance. I'm also a resident and commercial office property owner and a residential property owner.
And a dog owner too.
And a dog owner. You know, I love Rose Markle. She's my next door neighbor. My family has known her for 50 years, maybe longer. We employed her mother for over 10 years at least. My kids will still make her Christmas cookies. And I would say that I didn't even ask Haney, which I was really appreciative that he defended me, because the characterization that was made was that, you know, the president of this board is is making, it seemed like the characterization was that I was making money off of the HBA. I recused myself from that vote. And I just wanted to make that clear that I understand that there are many property owners that are considered commercial property owners that own residential buildings of a certain number of units included in this assessment. So I appreciate anyone's comments of saying that we're doing a good job, or I'm doing a good job, because I'm taking this you review our budget, ask the questions. If I can't answer them, I'm sure Stuart Copperweiss, our executive director, can. And I look forward to continuing to give back to the community, the city that has made my life fortunate and has given me so much. That's what I do this for. I don't do it to get a check from the Business Alliance. It's a month-to-month rent. I could happily have the office somewhere else. I do this because I've gained a lot from this city, and I'm giving a lot back to the city. So with that being said, I hope everyone reviews this budget, asks the questions, and I hope that you get answers that are satisfactory.
Thank you for your time and your service. Much appreciated. We have no other members of the public signed up to speak on the public hearing. Motion to close the hearing.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council President?
Yes, I'm going to bring Stuart in.
Sure.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening, Stuart.
Good evening.
Yes, Councilman Russo?
Thank you, Council President. And I apologize to Stuart and Greg. I was trying to get some questions over to them. I just didn't have the time to send them over. But I'm just going to ask them here tonight. A couple questions that I'm still unclear of. Well, let's start with the one that is always a concern for me when it comes to debt and borrowing. Stuart, does the CID have the ability to do any type of borrowing without the city's approval?
Yes, it's in the state statute that we're allowed to.
Okay.
Prior to a few years ago, the statute was changed and allows the improvement district to borrow funds for longer than 180 days from any entity. However,
right.
we have not borrowed any funds.
Right. And does that, who becomes responsible for paying that back?
It would be the improvement district itself.
And if the improvement district cannot pay it back or defaults on that, does that then become the debt of the city?
I'm not aware that it does. Corporation Counsel may have a better answer for you, but
by all means, anyone, Linda or Jason or Corporation Counsel, if you have any of the answers to those questions, by all means, please jump in. So
I'll just jump in from just my professional experience standpoint. If the city of Hoboken is not party to that agreement, then it couldn't be on the hook for it. And the city of Hoboken could not be a party to that agreement unless the council provided approval to be part of it. So I can't imagine any scenario legally or any scenario whatsoever where that would be the case.
Well, the concern, go ahead. I'm sorry, Councilman.
No, I was just going to ask whether the CID or the Business Alliance is not a political subdivision of the city of Hoboken.
It's not. It's a separate agency altogether.
The HBA is a private not-for-profit organization filed with the state as a 501c3 in the federal government.
Okay, thank you.
So let me play out the scenario. So if it has a problem paying back debt, then the remedy would be to increase the special assessment to the residents in the city of Hoboken, or those that qualify or are under the SID. Is that correct?
Well, your assumption is that there would be a loan made when funds being borrowed, which is an erroneous assumption.
That's a hypothetical.
Why
Hypothetically, anything can happen.
That's.
I mean, quite
but that's what
frankly,
I'm asking for. I'm trying to understand the structure of the SID, if in fact it does borrow money, and if in fact it can't pay that back. Because again, I need to prepare for worst case scenario. So that's why I asked the hypothetical in its worst case, because I want to understand what would happen if in fact that did happen.
I can't answer the question.
Listen, I would tell you from a lending perspective, if a lender were to lend to the SID, it would, especially in this environment, it would have to have a lot of confidence that, the local government supports the SID would continue to be able to raise assessments to cover whatever the debt service is. And so this isn't just a hypothetical with the SID, take a loan. You have to have lenders actually willing to do that. So I can't imagine a scenario where a lender is even going to lend to a SID in its second year, especially if there's any type of controversy around the sustainability of it. So I think the risk is close to zero of what your concern is.
Well, Linda, if you could jump in, does it affect the city's debt ratio?
No.
No, it does not.
Okay, good. So where are we, or do we, where do we see this on the municipal budget or the annual financial statement?
It's not.
It's not. It's a separate entity.
We don't see it at all in our documents.
No, we are separated from the government. That's why it was created as a public-private partnership, as a separate entity from the governmental services.
Awesome. And when, Linda, if you could jump in here, when did the city transfer the 1.3 million to the SID?
It's transferred as the taxes are paid. So as they're paid, once we get the payments in, we transfer them to the SIDs.
Okay, so how much, if you don't mind, how much was actually collected of that 1.352?
I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I think, Stuart, you know how much money you got, right?
I believe it was just over $1 million. We just received another check. To date, we only have received $800 and some odd thousand dollars of the 1.3. So I know that the city is aggressively working with the property owners to make sure the collections are being made. And I get phone calls from the collector's office on a weekly basis to ensure that.
So
we're about if I may.
Yes, please.
Just so you know, I was able to look up the ordinance, and the city of Hoboken shall not be responsible for any debt or obligation of the DMC, and shall not pledge its full faith and credit thereto, except as it shall choose to do so in specific instances in accordance with applicable laws.
Awesome.
We're not responsible unless you choose to under specific circumstances.
That's great. Thank you, Corporation Counsel. I appreciate it. So the city owes the SID roughly about $500,000.
I don't believe that's accurate.
No, I think it's less than that. And
I think right now it's about $300,000.
Okay.
Right.
So you said 800,000, Stuart. I'm assuming that check that you just received was probably a little over 200,000 then?
I think it was just under 200,000.
Okay, so roughly about 300,000. Is there any outstanding debts that we currently, the SID owes for the current year?
No, we have no debt whatsoever. All we have is contracts and agreements with vendors to provide services which are paid for on the according to their schedules.
So accounts payable, do you know how much that is?
Accounts payable right now, what we owe?
Yeah.
I believe about, I really don't know right now in terms of which bills are still outstanding. I think we have about ongoing monthly services for cleaning. Then we also have an outstanding bill for the holiday lights, which is about $40,000. I think that is, and then our marketing firm outstanding bill, probably your monthly services as well.
Okay, good. So a rough estimate, $100,000 of unpaid bills.
It's just everything that we owe right now is ongoing services on a monthly basis. We
Right,
have no
but-
outstanding. We have nothing outstanding. So
Okay, so nothing's owed for December. December's paid in full.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, so there's a surplus of about $300,000 then.
Yes. That has been shown in our budget and has been discussed many times over the past several weeks.
Okay, awesome. So let me ask this question then. If we budgeted 1.3, roughly, a little bit over 1.3, and we have that surplus of about $300,000, how are we justifying a 3.5% increase for next year when we haven't even spent the money that was allocated for this year?
Well, first, let's look at the facts, Councilman. There is no 3.5% increase whatsoever. The actual assessment rate is exactly the same as it was last year, this current year. There is going to be a slight increase, roughly of about, I believe, $14,000, or actually $23,000 due to some removal of duplicates and some additions of properties. But however, the assessment rate is exactly the same as it was this current year and will continue to be the same in the 2021 budget. The only difference
There's an increased assessed number.
No, there
correct?
is not an increase in assessment. There is not an increase in an assessment.
Not in the percentage, but in the number of people assessed.
No, not that I'm aware. Not that I'm aware of. There are several properties that are being removed, which you will be talking with as a separate resolution, and there are several properties that are being added because of changes to their particular circumstances. I think there's about 9 properties being added and about 80 being removed.
Remove 9 added. I'm just taking notes as you're talking, Stuart, so don't mind me.
Yeah, I mean, this is all actually in the resolution that was presented by the city service personnel themselves from the planning department. I don't, let's see. Thought I had that paperwork in front of me, but I looked at it earlier this afternoon. And again, I believe it was, like I said, about 90 properties being removed and about 9 or 10 properties being added.
Okay, thank you. And then just overall, Director Freeman, what's the typical oversight that we have as far as understanding the SID? Is it just yearly with the presentation to the city council? Is it a monthly kind of report that we're getting? What do we understand as far as the city's concerned?
We have a representative on the Hoboken Business Alliance board. It's Director Gonzalez. She sits in on every board meeting. Councilman Fisher, you can correct me if I'm wrong because you're in the meetings with her. She's as a part of the board as anybody else, just represents the administration in those meetings.
Yeah, I mean, Director Gonzalez, quite honestly, a lot of what the SID has done has required her input, her connection with the city, her actions to actually get done. So she's an incredibly active board member on the Special Improvement District.
Yeah, and may I add also, council member and members, is that we have developed an extremely wonderful partnership with the city, not only in terms of the council itself and the mayor's office and representatives, but from the directors on down to all the workers. This past weekend, we had a tremendous relationship with the police department, escorting the Santa float throughout the community. If it wasn't for that type of relationship and us working together, I don't think we could ever put together the programs that we were able to do this year. And that's why we are so looking forward to utilizing the $300,000 for next year, because as one of the people had spoken, and it was it was Cheryl Malik, I believe, to support the businesses in the periphery, the small multi-business owners. That's exactly what we intend to do in 2021 by putting together a new tenant program and marketing what Hoboken has to offer, not just in terms of the business community, but what it is available to its residents and to the individuals coming into Hoboken. So this tenant program is not only going to be for small individual residential properties, but also larger properties to help us confront the issues that have been spoken about in terms of tenancies being, vacancies existing not only in storefronts, but in residential properties as well. So we're looking forward to expanding that program, and we're looking forward to expanding our holiday program. We're looking forward to expanding and increasing our cleaning services and expanding into all of the sub areas as opposed to just on the Washington Street and waterfront area. And we are looking forward to the continued support of the council and all of the city departments and services to allow us to deliver all these services and help our businesses and community and allow our residents to enjoy these businesses in their own community.
Stuart, I think where I have a difficult time is that a lot of these programs that you're talking about have been historically done by the city of Hoboken. And this year, we haven't seen a reduction in our budget to offset that. We've always done our Christmas decoration or our holiday decorations along Washington Street. We've always had our tree lighting. We've always had our Santa Claus on the fire truck throughout town. We've always had things of that nature. Councilwoman Jabor single-handedly, when COVID began, started a gift card program and literally reached out to, I think, every restaurant and establishment in the city of Hoboken with the help of others. So my concern here, and my worry is that these are things that have historically been done by the city, maybe to a lesser extent, and maybe not in different administrations. But the reality is I haven't seen a reduction on the city side. And now we're also assessing a special assessment to those individuals in the city. So to me, it looks like it's just an added quote unquote tax. And we know it's a special assessment, but for layman's speech here, it looks like it's just another tax to those people. So I don't place the blame specifically on one entity versus the other. My concern is that these are some services that have always been provided in the city of Hoboken, but now it just feels like we're paying on both ends for those same services. So that's where some of this concern comes from. And that to me goes back to my earlier statements about those metrics and understanding those metrics. And if that's a greater communication with the city of Hoboken, where we are reducing our annual budget and you as the CID have that assessment going to those services, it would make a lot more sense. So I would hope that in this coming year, if this is passed tonight, that we can have that collaboration. So this council and the members of the public could understand exactly where things are being spent and how that's being offset in the city of Hoboken for some of those programs that we've historically run. So I think that's part of my frustration. And again, as I said, that doesn't necessarily fall on the newly created CID, but it is a concern.
Council President.
May I just respond a moment, Councilwoman? I really appreciate your concern. I would have to say that we are here to support, enhance, and supplement services, not to replace services. That is the actual statute itself. It is mandatory that is what occur. Quite frankly, I can go down the list. If you looked at the report that I gave on the activities for 2020, it shows all of the items that are in addition to the municipal services that were presented. I would make that available to all the public. And of course, all of our documents and our audit are public documents, and they're available to anybody who wishes to view them. Thank you, Council.
Thank you
very much.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I was going to echo what Stuart said, and also just say that I do think Councilman Russo's point about really understanding, like, if there are things that the Special Improvement District is spending more money on, we should be looking back towards the city to see, if there's opportunities for reductions. a couple of the things that he mentioned, this is a unique year, right? The city of Hoboken said they weren't going to have a tree lighting in front of City Hall because construction was going on. So the HBA stepped in and said, well, let's try and figure out a way to still do it because it's a great community activity. So I would look to the city and say, where's the reduction in the budget for not, having that event? And I think there are some times where the line of supplement gets a little bit gray. But I can tell you, we have this conversation every time. Director Gonzalez, I don't know if she's on, but there's a few things, where we're trying to make sure that we are not taking on the activities of the city. What we are doing is complementing or supplementing those activities, and we do bump into it every once in a while. But it is something that I know the HBA is very focused on making sure that we are spending money to support, all of the commercial property owners, including residential, and trying to do it in a way that is not duplicative. And I think we get it more right than wrong. But, to Councilman Russo's point, next year, we should be taking an even closer look at it. And I know, given the conversations we've had at the SID, that everyone, Greg and everyone, are committed to doing just that.
Right. And to add to that, we partnered with the city on the summer streets, on the open streets, on the streeteries, et cetera, et cetera. These are things that were necessary in order to keep our businesses floating throughout the pandemic. And I greatly have to appreciate and mention that Director Gonzalez has been critical in allowing us to move these programs forward. And I really appreciate her services. You should be very proud of her.
Council President, I'm sorry. One other question I forgot to ask. The retail market analysis, is that scheduled for this coming year as well?
Hopefully. The thing about a retail market analysis, I have a lot of background, my professional background in retail. The thing about a retail market analysis is, and the reason why it wasn't done this year, is because it's meant to measure how people spend money, what's keeping people, coming and spending money locally. And in a year where all of that spending was completely thrown up in the air and basically just stopped for 6 months, like this past year just wasn't a year to do that study because it really meant nothing. So I would say for the retail market analysis for next year, hoping that we see a recovery of business to some level of stabilization, whatever that is, whatever the new normal is, but getting to a point where there's a little bit more of a stabilized environment is when we would probably do it again. So where I would say we're hopeful to do it, I'm not sure that, we're going to run out and do it in March because, there's still a lot of concerns about, the environment. So.
And again, the reason I ask, and the CID's going to make the decision when that's appropriate to do, but the reason I ask is really more toward the budget, right? So there's $300,000 that haven't been spent in this current year. And then there's $75,000 that was also budgeted for the retail market analysis. So we're talking about $375,000 of more than what we actually needed this year. And we're still asking for an increase of $50,000 for this year's budget. So I just don't understand why that increase is built in there. I would assume that it would be the other way around, knowing that we did really well and we didn't have to spend $300,000 and we made a decision as the CID not to spend that money on a retail market analysis. That's $375,000 that I would have hoped that the CID would come back to the city of Hoboken to say, you know what, our budget doesn't necessarily have to be as much as it was last year. Maybe $1.1 million is the right number for this year. But again, I still don't understand why that increase and what the added value is there. Please, someone try to explain that to me, because that's still a very big concern of mine.
So let me just make a few points of clarification.
Sure.
The $75,000 is part of the 300, so it's not $375,000. It's not a $50,000 increase. There's going to be potentially a $23,000 increase. And that is due to the fact of the properties being deleted and added in terms of the properties themselves. And it's based upon, and again, may make it clear that the assessment rate is 1.8% as the same rate that it was currently this year.
Yeah, Stuart, I'm gonna interrupt you here. Maybe I have wrong numbers here, but it looks to me like the 2021 dollar amount for SID assessment is 1.373528. Is that correct?
That is what was presented to you, which is a $37,000 increase over the 2020 budget. However, it seems to be that in some clarifications coming from the city, that assessment is going to be reduced by about $14,000, making that increase roughly $23,000. And that is being handled by the Schedule A program assessment.
Yeah, but that's not what we're voting on here tonight. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
No, we are voting on Schedule A also.
You're voting on the 1.373528.09 budget tonight, and that is going to be reduced, which is allowed by statute and state law, based upon clarifications on Schedule A.
But we're also voting on amending Schedule A.
Correct.
Which will reduce it to what, Stuart? I'm sorry, what was the final number?
1,359,198.33.
198. Okay. All right, good. Thank you. I appreciate that clarification.
Absolutely. And again, I know we've been trying to speak with each other over the last couple of weeks. And I'm sorry we haven't had the opportunity to do so, but I do welcome these continued conversations with you, because I think we're all of us understanding the concerns, and then us understanding how it's going to be addressed will help everybody within the city of Hoboken.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we need to, correct me if I'm wrong, Corporation Counsel or Stuart. Next, we need to vote on the ordinance B, I believe, B315, amending Schedule A.
I think.
Oh, we didn't, wait, excuse me, 1 minute. We didn't even open up the hearing on it yet.
No. Excuse me. We what we need to do is vote on the budget.
Open the public hearing on B315 and close
No,
it.
we need to vote on the budget first, because that's what we were addressing, and then I don't know if we opened and
closed that. Okay. So
Did
our
we-
first one is voting on the 2021 budget for the Hoboken Business Alliance Special Improvement District.
Correct.
Mr. Farina, call the vote.
What numbers, what resolution is that?
It's not, I'll tell you.
Ordinance B315.
No, it's not an ordinance. This is
It's
this conversation we have. We're just
Can you
voting
do
on the
me,
budget.
can you do me one favor, because we're getting out of, alignment with the agenda. I'm going to read the public hearing for ordinance B315, an ordinance amending the Hoboken Business Alliance FY 2021 budget as referenced with chapter 190, 179 special improvement districts of the city of Hoboken. Now, the hearing is now open on this ordinance.
We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
All in
Okay.
favor?
Aye.
All right, now we're going to vote on the ordinance.
No, we need to first vote on the budget though, Jimmy, which is a resolution, correct?
There's no resolution. We had this whole conversation.
No, I remember, but I thought they were gonna.
May I, Council President, the resolution was introduced at the November council meeting. That was the budget resolution. We then had a hearing not to be held in less than 28 days thereafter, which is that today's meeting.
I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. So we don't.
And what we are doing now is voting on, we just had a hearing, we just had conversations with the council members on the budget resolution, and now the resolution question should be called and voted upon.
Which is the original budget, correct?
Right.
All right.
Correct.
Can you give me the amount of the budget resolution? I don't have it in front of me.
It's $1,373,528.09.
Okay.
You're calling it a resolution, but it's actually an ordinance, correct?
No, the budget is a resolution, Corporation Council. The budget that was submitted on November 18th was a resolution to approve the 2021 budget. It was introduced on a first reading, and then the hearing was set for this evening, and now the question is to be called. And a separate issue is the Schedule A ordinance, which needs to be amended to remove certain properties.
Well,
And that's
why
the
would
ordinance
you,
amending the budget with the special, okay.
but why would you amend it by ordinance and pass the actual
What I'm
budget?
trying to figure out.
You're not,
No,
we're
we're
amending,
amending the budget. We're amending the Schedule A, which is the list of all the properties.
It's a
Correct.
bad title. You're not amending, it has the effect of changing the budget,
it's a
Okay.
bad
Correct.
title.
changing Schedule A.
Right, it's amendment of Schedule A, correct. Because actually what happens is that when you submit the budget is based upon properties within the improvement district and the Schedule A as submitted. And that Schedule A submitted in 2020 is different than the one for 2021. And that is the separate amendment.
The
Right
ordinance
now,
is the ordinance is just worded misleading, that you're amending the budget. You're not amending the budget, you're amending Schedule A.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Aloya, do you believe that we now need to vote on a resolution anyway?
Yep, you've just had the hearing on the budget, which is by resolution, so you can vote on that.
Okay, Mr. Christina, call the vote on the 2021 budget for the Hoboken Business Alliance Special Improvement District for the amount of $1,373. I can't read my own.
528.9.
I'm sorry, Council President, before this vote's called, I have to get this straight now. So if we're voting on a budget through resolution, but then we're voting on something totally separate, which is the Schedule A. It has nothing to do with the budget. It has to do with the assessment.
That's correct. It's a poorly titled ordinance with regard to the title on your agenda.
Yeah, but how does that my question is, how does that reduce the budget? We're still voting on $1.373 million. You need to change the dollar amount in the budget to reflect what's going to happen on the Schedule A. They're two separate documents. You can't just say, excuse me, Stuart, what I'm saying from a procedural perspective, you're voting on a budget well above what you're saying you're going to assess at. Okay, at some point, you're in a deficit.
No,
you're now only collecting X amount of dollars on the budget that you just passed. That's wrong.
First of all, you can't go into a deficit if you're reducing the amount. Second of all, the issue has to do with the fact that
you're not reducing the amount. I'm sorry, Stuart, you're wrong. You're not reducing the amount. You're reducing the assessment. You're reducing the amount collected. You're not reducing the amount of the budget.
So therefore, if I'm reducing the assessment, and the assessment is a line item on my budget that stipulates exactly what the assessment is, and that assessment is not that line item number, it has to be matching the assessment, which is a reduction of the current number.
No, your budget is still at 1.373. That's
Correct.
like saying we didn't, that's like saying,
correct.
I'm sorry, that's like saying the city budgeted X amount of dollars and we collected $100,000 less. We now are running in a deficit on our budget.
We are not running in a deficit, council member. And if Corporation Council can attest to the fact that the state statute allows for a 10% deviation in funding for each particular line item. So if you wanted to right now, you could just amend the budget as presented and we call it to be 1.359198333, accept that, and then reduce, and then accept the Schedule A. But if you don't,
that's all I'm saying. You got to reduce the budget as well.
Either way, it's going to happen because it has to happen statutorily.
Yeah, I would defer to Corporation Council to make sure that that's correct, so that we don't put ourselves.
Last week.
Well, I certainly agree with both of you, and our ordinance that establishes the special improvement district actually says that the city is only responsible to pay that money in which it collects. So clearly the city's not going to get the money because you're not going to collect it because you're changing Schedule A. But so everything matches up because there was some back and forth via email earlier today. Councilman Russo, that's fine. Make a motion and amend it so it all lines up mathematically.
Yeah, I think that's a simple motion, and I would hope that it would be seconded and voted on. Yes. So I make the motion to reduce the budgeted amount from 1373528 to the 1359198 number.
What's the number again, Mike?
$1,359,198.
1,359,198
And 33 cents.
And 33 cents.
for Mrs. Crumbcake's bucket.
Correct.
All right, so now, is there a second on that amendment?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yep.
Mr. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the amendment.
Now on the ordinance,
No, on the resolution.
On the amendment, on the
we just voted
Just
on
did the resolution.
No,
We're now
on
doing the
resolution
Schedule
to
A
pass the
ordinance.
budget.
Schedule A.
No, on the resolution to pass the budget. You didn't vote on the
Correct.
budget.
We voted on the amendment. Now we need to vote on the,
on the
correct,
ord,
Stuart.
on the
On the
ordinance,
resolution to
On the
pass
budget itself, Jim.
Resolution first, then the ordinance.
Budget
Voting
resolution.
on the resolution,
right.
the Hoboken Business Alliance Special Improvement District 2021 budget as amended.
Yes.
Yes. Call the vote.
Mr. Cohen,
Yeah, I just want to say that we were very fortunate to have this business alliance. We couldn't have foreseen the pandemic. I think it's been great. And I just, yes, I'm voting yes, but I just wanted to make a brief statement. And thank you for your service to the board. Thank you.
Mr. Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
No.
President Giantino.
Yes.
On the ordinance for final reading, final vote, Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Excuse me one second. Excuse me. I'm sorry to interrupt.
yes.
Clerk, but we didn't, we shall at least open the hearing for the public. It's the second reading of the ordinance.
We
Here it
just,
is.
we just,
We closed it.
we
Okay.
closed. All
I
right,
missed it. I'm sorry.
okay. Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
No.
President Giantino.
Yeah.
The hearing on an ordinance, public hearing on an ordinance for bond ordinance B 324.
We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion.
Second.
Favor?
Thank you, board members.
Aye. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you very much. Have a happy and a healthy holiday.
Yes, you too,
And
Stuart.
enjoy yourselves. Thank you so much for your support. I look forward to the continuation of our partnership. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. I will leave.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Council President, on the bond?
Yes.
Council President, again, this bond failed at our 2 meetings ago. Can somebody refresh my memory of what was changed?
We voted on it. We voted on it at the last meeting for first.
Yeah,
reading.
for first reading, correct. But what was changed on this from its original?
Version.
Jason, was
Yes,
something
thank you,
rem-
Council Doyle.
Yeah.
No, there was nothing changed from what was voted down originally.
No, remember there was, I thought, Jason, that there
You-
was a
you-
couple,
The council made an amendment on first reading and removed those items that you didn't want to vote on. That passed on first reading and then failed to get 6 votes a second reading. There was originally, it was a larger bond that included upgrades, IT upgrades to City Hall. You had removed those from the bond prior to first reading. You then passed it as,
I think it failed. I think what you're saying we did and it failed. And so then we all went away and we came back again and then just introduced the bond on first reading with just the fire truck and just the police, which was at the last meeting.
No.
no,
No?
you had made changes to
Yep.
the ordinance or the bond ordinance several meetings ago. You then
Oh,
voted
5 votes to pass on first reading.
Correct.
Okay, that's right. And then second reading, it failed.
Right.
And then we reintroduced it.
Correct.
Right. But to Councilman Russo's point, there were some additional items that didn't need to be in here. So when it was reintroduced, because it had sponsors, a lower amount for a fire truck, as well as the capital IT project for the police. So it was pared down just for those 2 items that were both in our budget and approved by those that did approve our budget. So they're already approved capital items in our budget. So that's kind of why it was able to be reintroduced with a smaller amount.
I don't think that's the case. Director Freeman, is that in fact the case? Is this just for those 2 things?
This is for the IT upgrades for the police department that they're putting up, I think like half from their public safety trust fund. This includes a fire truck as well as I believe vehicles for the police department as well.
Yeah, there was no change other than the funding source for half of the IT.
No,
stuff.
remember it had the like security stuff that was potentially going to be funded by the CARES Act.
So this was we also had in there City Hall. This is what was removed by the council.
Correct.
This is not what you did not vote no on that, Councilman Russo. What was voted, what failed on second reading the last time was essentially the same thing you're voting on now. It did not include.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, we're on the same page.
Yeah. No. What I'm saying is there weren't any additional things removed. So this is pretty much the same thing that failed.
That is correct.
Thank you. That's the point I was making.
Mr. Freeman, call the vote.
Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
DeFusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour,
Bill, yes.
Mr. Ramos. Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Yeah.
Mr. Russo,
No.
President Giantino.
Yes.
A hearing on an
Good.
ordinance amending chapter 196 zoning section 196-27.3 building facades of the
I'm sorry, I muted you, Jimmy, because you wouldn't stop talking. Can the rest of you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the agenda and do the proclamation for Mario's Pizza.
Yeah, good idea.
We need a change anyway. So, Mario, can you see everyone?
Yeah, I can, thank you.
I had to Zoom him. I had to FaceTime him in because he was not able to Zoom in. So Mario's Pizza for over 20 years has been doing free Thanksgivings for Hoboken residents and actually anyone who, for whatever reason, may need a Thanksgiving dinner. You know, it could be that you need a Thanksgiving dinner because you don't have the ability to get one, or it could just be that you don't have anywhere to go on Thanksgiving and you can go to Mario's. And I feel like in the year that has just been so crappy, it's amazing to me. He's been doing this for over 20 years. This year, he kind of recreated it and people could pick up Thanksgiving dinner, and they delivered about 50 Thanksgiving dinners. And I know a lot of people have like stepped up to the plate this year and done things for people, but they do this every year. And I think it's so wonderful that they do it as a whole family. It's Mario, his son Mario, Michael and Joseph, and his wife Deanna. And I really just want to say Hoboken appreciates you so much. And it really just shows what Hoboken's about and what we as Hobokenites are. So so thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you, Mario.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much, Mario.
For me, but what this year been so tough and stuff was almost didn't happen, but not only for myself and my family, but the community came together and really pushed me to really do it, and I was so glad to do it. I know it was kind of hard, but they donated everything. My family and I just donated our time, and of course I cook them. But you know what? It turned out to be a beautiful day, and everybody set our side more than I expected it. And it was just a joy to really do it. Part of this community in Hoboken. And I'd like to thanks the mayor and thanks the city council for this recognition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Mario,
Thank you, Mario.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you all for allowing that. Oh, I forgot to show him the proclamation. Just hold it up for good faith. Thank you, Jimmy. You can hand deliver that for me. Okay, I'm gonna unmute you now, Jimmy. You have to unmute. Jerry, unmute.
Got it. Public portion on resolution items.
I know we have one member. Anyone in the waiting room that would like to speak on agenda items? Any agenda item from here moving forward, please raise your hand. Good evening, James. You just have to unmute. Oh, there we go. Perfect. James?
Yes.
Can you not hear us, James?
I can hear you right now. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect. Excellent. You're good. You have 5 minutes, James.
Good evening, Council President Giatino, and the members of the City Council. Let me just be one of the first to say Happy New Year to you all. We're looking forward to a much better 2021. I'm going to talk about E1, which is the resolution about Murray paving, because I'm a little jealous about how much money these dog parks cost compared to the amount that is budgeted for trees in the city. But with this entire thing with the Hoboken Business Alliance, you guys snap your fingers and assess $1.3 million in extra taxes to taxpayers of business type properties. And Stewart just apologizes to Councilman Russo and says, I didn't get back to you for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, probably the 2 most critical weeks of his budget year, he doesn't call back one of our council people? Give me a break. Give me a complete break. I don't know. I cannot understand why you would.
The other way around.
Okay, so did every council person get a call back? Is there a communication? I guess.
Council President, if I could just jump in there real quick, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that was both ways. I mean, I've been trying to get to him, and he and Greg to me, so that doesn't fall solely on him. That falls on me more than anything. So. Okay,
it didn't come across that way. So
that's why I wanted to clarify.
If he's giving everyone good access, then that's business-like. And now I'm agreeing with Councilman Cohen, who's shaking his head positively. Great, because that's the way it's got to be. But it was pretty unclear, and you guys didn't request him ever during the year to speak, and he was not around publicly, at least. And it was only the council or the administration themselves that got to know what was going on with the business alliance. Okay, just very briefly, the $116,000 renovation for the dog park at the dog run at Elysian Park is only a renovation. It's cement, AstroTurf, and PVC pipe for drainage. Before you vote on it, could you please have a discussion on the last time this dog run was renovated and how much it cost at that point? Because in a town, where we're spending $35,000 in total on trees, or maybe we're getting some grants, but really it's recycled tax dollars that are coming back to the city of our own property taxes, one way or the other. it just doesn't make sense that we spend so little on our street trees. I mean, you've got people paying $10,000-$15,000 a year in property taxes, even $25,000 or $30,000. And I mean, I'd like to say to them, in my head, my property tax dollars are being wasted on a dog run rehabilitation. So, it's important. Our voters don't like President Trump. They voted him out. They want to go back in the Paris Climate Agreement. This is important stuff. This is representing our voters. And let's put our money where our mouth is and have some trees planted in our town. Would it be like an equilibrium? We would only be at equilibrium if we could fill our tree pits. So, that's the point. We have to make sure that in 2021, we have a reasonable budget, and the city unfortunately hasn't had the muscle memory. It has been really no years where we've had a reasonable budget to really make a difference in their trees. We have done stuff from year to year. I can't blame the one person or one official in any way. It's that the culture has to be expanded so that we have better quality environment for everyone here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Happy holidays. Where'd she go? Miss Waiters, you've vanished.
She's there, but she's on mute.
All right, you can hear me?
Yes, there you go.
All right, hi, Pat Waiters, 1219 Willow. Did all of you guys receive my application for the sewage authority? I came out of my way in the pandemic and I dropped it off in City Hall.
Patricia, this is public portion on agenda items. Do you wish to speak on an agenda item?
Oh, that's not on the agenda tonight? The sewage authority appointment should be.
No.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh, okay. I could just wait for the public portion then.
Great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hi, Mike. What's up?
We have no other members of the public signed up to speak on agenda items. Motion to close public portion.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A hearing on an ordinance amending chapter 196 zoning, section 196-27.3, building facades of the municipal code of the city of Hoboken.
Council President?
We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion.
Second.
You hear
All in
that over. Aye.
Mr. Doyle, Councilman Doyle?
Yes, I just wanted to, on Monday night, the planning board met and voted unanimously to find that these amendments were consistent with the master plan, and there were some recommendations with regard to going forward. But as far as these amendments go, we've got the green light from the planning board. It's really just correcting a mathematical error that was, I'm sorry, it was a typographical error with regard to percentages of window versus non-window material. So,
Council President?
Yes, Councilman.
I recall on first reading that we amended this to add a new section C1C relating to ceramic as masonry. I don't see that in the agenda item that's in the packet. I don't know if that's what the planning board reviewed or not, but I'm pretty sure that we did add that to the ordinance at our last meeting.
We did.
Councilman, yeah, ceramic was added. I don't know what's in the cell, but it was what was. It's what we're voting on, and it was what we reviewed. So
good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman.
Thank you, both councilmen. Other council members? Mr. Farina, please call the vote.
Mr. Cohen?
Aye.
Ms. Fusco?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yeah.
Mr. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yes.
A hearing on an ordinance amending towing provisions to remove decoupling fees and advance calls requirements.
Been removed from the agenda, completely removed.
Okay. A hearing on an ordinance of the City of Hoboken amending the city code, chapter 36A with respect to proposed purposes of operation of the Hoboken Municipal Hospital Authority.
We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council members? Mr. Farina, please call the vote.
Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Mr. Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Abstain?
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
E315 we already voted on.
Right, an ordinance, a hearing on an ordinance amending indoor gathering regulations ordinance update guidelines accordance with the Governor Murphy's most recent executive order.
We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. All in favor? Aye.
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 Sorry, council members? Mr. Farina, call the vote.
Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yes.
A hearing on an ordinance amending the Hoboken City Code, Chapter 60, purchasing to create Section 60-18, retitled Construction Project Labor Agreements.
We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council members? Mr. Farina?
Who's got the dog?
Mr. Farina, call the vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos, Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yes.
Mr. Ramos? Okay. Hearing on an ordinance amending Chapter 20A-12 of the Code of the City of Hoboken, Public Contracting Reform, Prohibition of awarding public contracts to certain contributors.
We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council members? Mr. Farina,
Council
call the vote.
President?
Sorry, Councilman Doyle?
Well, does Councilman Fisher want to say something first, or is she?
I mean,
I'm just questioning whether, was the siblings and parents provision modified or
nope, it's the same as it was before.
with the, and notwithstanding Corporation Council's recommendations to the contrary?
Right. It's just I think I mentioned it last time. It's an interpretation of risk. And as I think we all we're all in positions where we are risk assessors and determine what level of risk we're willing to take. And so what Corporation Council highlighted is if there was a situation that, XYZ occurred, there may be a risk that we lose. And I said, okay, that's fine. I just think the risk of that situation occurring is so remote that it just doesn't matter. And that it's an acceptable level of risk. And that's just kind of where we left it.
All right, well,
The XYZ is if there are immediate family members or family members that are close to the entity or the person, the principal, that don't live in the same household, so whether it's parents or siblings, whether or not there would be a situation where an estranged sibling or an estranged parent for some reason decided on their own to make a contribution into Hoboken to a political campaign and put at risk the entity's ability to do business with the city. And what I said was, if we make this known to anyone that is doing business with the city, they will reach out to their estranged parents and their estranged siblings and let them know they shouldn't be doing that.
Well, if I could, I'm not focusing whatsoever on the risk of a future lawsuit. I'm focusing on adults, how the rights of other individuals to participate. And if your job will be to dictate how your parents or your brother-in-law and sister and others participate in a democracy, I think it's too far removed. I mean, a spouse, you sign up for that, and children, and even with adult children, I can see where it might be difficult, but I just think this is going too far. And
listen, I think my response to that is there's a lot of ways that you can participate in democracy. Making significant financial contributions to someone that you're very close with that has a contract with the city, it just isn't one that I think should be happening in Hoboken. Those same people can make contributions at $300 and less. Those same people can work on a campaign. They can make phone calls. They can do a lot of things. Just making a large financial donation greater than $300 to a political campaign for someone that has something to do with providing a contract to, may or may not, but have something to do with providing a contract with the relative. I think that this is absolutely reasonable, especially in a place like Hoboken.
Council President.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilwoman.
Just to add, I have the same concerns as Councilman Doyle in terms of the scope of this, and certainly in terms of the challenges that Corporation Council highlighted for us. But beyond that, I would refer to in 2019, Councilman Doyle and I actually tried to put forward a resolution in terms of ensuring that we were enforcing the laws in this area. And actually, Councilman Fisher, I think that you had been the one to speak about that in tabling that resolution at the time. So it's kind of confusing to me that we're going to add to the universe of the laws in this area if we're not even enforcing the ones that are already there. And so how does this actually get enforced if we're not willing to go through with that next step?
Listen, it's always you've raised a really interesting point, which is whether or not the city enforces our pay to play. So we write the laws and we hope that the administration enforces them. So this is one we put on our books. So the whole point of it is to avoid quid pro quo. It is a message to people that want to do business with the city of Hoboken that they cannot expect quid pro quo for at all for giving contracts to them. And this just tightens our policy more than we already have. So listen, I would love to hear the city, or I'd love to see the city enforce our policies, right? And the fact that you put up a resolution, weeks before an election, so you can force talking points to be used against a number of council members like that. We weren't supporting your politics. We may have supported an overall policy, but we were absolutely not supporting the politics at the time. This isn't politics. We have pay to play on our books. We know, and we've seen in the past supporting a number of candidates that money comes in from entities that do business with the city of Hoboken, either directly or indirectly, large dollar amounts from outside of Hoboken. They come directly as direct contributions. They come through PACs, they come through super PACs, they come through independent expenditures. So what this is meant to do is protect our local elections from outside money coming into the city of Hoboken, and especially in relation to a quid pro quo arrangement. So you're either supportive of that or you're not.
Councilwoman, it's very easy to cry politics when you don't want to agree. But in fact, This council, which is largely the same as the council that voted on this last year, or would have voted on it had it not been tabled by you, in fact, was for purposes of ensuring enforcement. And there is nothing political about that. No matter what the timing is, if we're not enforcing what's on the books already, why are we expanding the scope of that when this council isn't willing to stand behind what's already there, Councilwoman?
That's not true at all. Why
It is true. Then why did we table the resolution last year?
Because you put a resolution up asking the administration to do their job. That's all you were doing. You could have put a press statement out saying, I really want the administration to do their job, but instead you put up a fluffy resolution to get the council to vote on telling the administration to do their job. That's not what this is. What this is putting laws in place that you should be enforcing. That's all.
You prevented the opportunity for this council to opine on it.
I did not at all. You can opine any day you want in any form you want, but putting a legislative action to ask the mayor to do something is ridiculous.
Council President?
Yes, Councilman.
Thank you, Council President. Councilwoman, I want to know how you think we would be able to, or anyone would be able to, reach out to a relative who they may not be speaking to, who they may not be on good terms in any way, shape, or form, to ask them not to do something when in fact that relationship may be so toxic that just by merely asking them may trigger them to do exactly what you're asking them not to do. How do you justify that?
I don't justify it in the scenario that you're talking about. I just believe that they wouldn't pick up the phone. They wouldn't tell them for the reason that you're mentioning. And so now you have a situation where someone is so far removed that they probably don't even know what this law is or anything. They probably won't even make a donation. So the risk is very remote and very low. And if for some reason they do, and they bring it to this council, or they file a lawsuit, let's say, then we'll address it at the time. But that risk is so remote that I don't think it's acceptable.
You're asking to put that burden on anyone who may participate in serving the city through any type of a contract, right? Whether that's through a professional service contract or any other contract, right? You're putting that burden on them to go and bring a lawsuit if in fact they had a relative who donated to a candidate or not. I just think that's kind of backwards. I think we have I think you have a situation where
you're welcome to vote no.
Well, of course, I'm welcome to vote no. We all have our ability to vote yes or no. But I just want to make it real clear that, you know, when you or anyone else on this council, and it's not just you, Councilwoman, anyone says that when we're talking about pay to play, that it's not politics, you're lying through your teeth, right? It's specifically about politics. It's about a donation to a political campaign. Or an independent. I just want to make it real clear that you know when you or anyone else on this council, it's not just you, Councilwoman, anyone says that when we're talking about pay to play,
this is
that it's not politics. You're lying through your teeth, right? And depending on the time, you know, people fall where they are. But I personally don't think that this is something that is reasonable. Look, I've had situations with my own family members where they did things that were very spiteful. So I would never be able to justify calling them and asking them not to do something, right? So it just doesn't make sense to me. So again, I understand your point wholeheartedly, but I just think it's a little bit backwards. So that's my only point.
Council President?
Yes, Councilman.
Yeah, two things. First, on the legal point, I want to wholeheartedly agree with Councilman Russo. I think our Corporation Council made two objections with respect to the parents and siblings issue. One was the risk of being sued that Councilwoman Fisher identifies, because it's not consistent with the kinds of pay-to-play regulations that are in other jurisdictions, and people who do business with the city do business all over the place. And there should be a single set of standards. So there is a risk for us to having an inconsistent standards for people who do business with the city of Hoboken, number one. And number two, Councilman Russo's point, which Councilman Fisher hasn't acknowledged, which is that how do we police our relatives' practices? I think that, so you have a very difficult burden with respect to the people who serve for the city to make their family members be in line with respect to their contributions. which I think was also flagged by our corporation counsel. This was flagged in the memorandum to the author of the resolution before it was on first reading, and she has not followed council's advice. So I just want to point out that point, number one. Number two, when I ran for city council, I didn't understand why there were people who were sitting council members who were raising funds in a way that was not consistent with the pay-to-play laws that were on the books. And this council did not want to vote on the resolution to affirm that you stood behind those pay-to-play laws. I didn't understand it then. And I note that Councilman Russo actually voted against tabling it then. And it came up in the debate. And he pointed out that he agreed with me that this council should stand behind the local pay-to-play laws, which I didn't understand then. I don't understand it now. But my understanding is that our pay-to-play officer is right now Alyssa Witch. Is that correct, Corporation Counsel?
That's correct.
So with respect to these kinds of pay-to-play laws, the way that I understand that they work, and again, I'm the rookie up here, so Corporation Counsel, correct me if I'm wrong, what our pay-to-play officer would do is she would look at things like ELEC reports to determine who's been receiving funds, where the funds have been paid, to make sure that if there's a potential issue, that whether it's enforceable or not, at least our pay-to-play officer can be aware of them. Is that correct?
Currently, right now, we review all the pay-to-play documents when a contract's being entered into to ensure there is compliance. If there's not compliance, the contract is not entered into. So
okay, so would the ELEC reports be a key document that would have to be considered with respect to
that's the key document that is considered. That's correct.
Okay. So my question for the sponsor, Councilwoman Fisher, when was the last ELEC report that you filed after the last council election? Because I looked it up and I saw that your last report was filed October 29th, which was before the election. And I'm wondering if the ELEC form is the key document to determine whether we're in compliance with our pay-to-play laws, why is you, the sponsor, in addition to expanding on the pay-to-play laws which aren't even enforced or stood behind by this council, are you not current on your own ELEC report?
So I did file a final ELEC for my campaign, so I don't know what you're looking at.
I looked at the ELEC website today.
Okay.
And your last filed ELEC report is dated October 29, 2019.
Well, I appreciate you raising that, because after someone else raised it 2 months after the fact, I submitted it, so I will go and follow up. But I don't maintain an account. I don't continue it. It was a final report. It closed it out, and I don't have, just like I did last time, I didn't have active reports after, or active account after I was elected. So I will go back and follow up on that.
I mean, this would be a question for Corporation Counsel, but isn't there a legal requirement that after an election that there needs to be a final ELEC report filed?
Yes, there is, Phil, and I see what you're trying to do and beat a dead horse. There is a requirement, and I'm surprised that it's not there, and I will follow up and find out why it's not there, because I issued a final one, and I haven't issued one since, because it was my final one. So I will follow up and find out what happened. But addressing your other...
But you still maintain that we should be expanding on our pay-to-play laws, going beyond what Corporation Counsel recommends when we're not even complying with the current?
Absolutely, 100%, because they're two separate issues, although I appreciate you trying to link them. Addressing all of the issues that you just raised. So first of all, in Corporation Counsel, you can jump in. My understanding is the state is not looking for necessarily consistent pay-to-play approaches. As a matter of fact, they encourage municipalities to have at least what the state statute is, if not better. And if we have better and more stringent, then we file our own pay-to-play regime at the state level. So consistency across the state is not required. Second, this is amending a law. This isn't asking the administration to enforce laws on the book. This is taking an existing law and making some changes to it. And that is what we do as legislators. We don't have executive authority. We don't have enforcement authority. What we do is we advocate for change and we legislate change. That's all we're doing. And that is all that I'm putting up here. So it's different than the pay-to-play resolutions that you guys put up repeatedly last year. And as as, we took a view that they were being put up for political purposes just to draw comments and votes out from the council, and at the end, which is incredibly frustrating. So that was why all of those got tabled in the fall.
So when you say you guys, you're not referring to me then, because I wasn't on the council then, right, Councilwoman?
You were not on the council.
Candidate.
Yes.
I was a candidate. Okay.
Yes.
And then so you would agree with me that this is political, correct?
Oh, this is political in that it absolutely relates to campaigns, and it absolutely relates to, as we think about, our history with campaigns in our community and going into another campaign season, absolutely, 100%. But this relates to everyone running for office, right? We have a mayoral race coming up now. We have council races 2 years after that. And this is based on historic activity. I believe these tightenings to our policies are warranted. So is it political? Yes, because of course it relates to contributions from vendors. It relates to the concern about quid pro quo, and it just makes it more difficult to have a quid pro quo for contributions to campaigns. That's all it's meant to do. That's what it was originally meant to do. It's what it's meant to do now. And more importantly, it's meant to keep outside dollars out of our local elections or minimize that.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Any other council members? I don't see this as political, by the way. I just see it as trying to stop
It's not political.
The sponsor does.
No, yeah.
Yes, it relates to politics. It literally relates to.
For me, this is about trying to stop wheeling, and I think we should actually do whatever we can to prevent wheeling.
It's about good
We could
governance.
do
It's
that in
really
the
what it's
budget
about.
and provide for more resources for enforcement in the budget. But that does not explain why, if there's a resolution last year that was just, it was aspirational in nature, it doesn't mean you could, if everyone just unanimously voted for it, then there would have been no quote unquote political controversy. But yeah, everyone thinks that we should enforce our laws. So why would you table it and so that you don't agree with enforcing existing laws? It doesn't hold water. But
because they're two totally different things. And so,
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, we never.
Thank you. Yeah, call the vote.
Mr. Cohen,
No.
Mr. Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
No.
Mrs. Falco,
No.
Ms. Fisher,
yes.
Mrs. Jabour,
No.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo. President Giantino.
Yes.
4-4, the ordinance fails. Okay, hearing on an ordinance amending chapter 193-3 water pipe maintenance and permission for making connections.
We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Oh, yes. We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion.
Second, all in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Council members? Mr. Farina, call the vote.
Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Mr. Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Jabour, Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yes.
Hearing on an ordinance of
I'm a yes
amendment.
too, Jim.
Excuse me?
I'm a yes then.
All right.
Councilman Russo.
Got you, okay. Hearing on an ordinance amending the supplement and an ordinance establishing a schedule of classifications and allocations of titles for the herein mentioned positions in the city of Hoboken.
We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Council President, if I may, can one of the directors walk me through what these amended titles are?
I think it's Director Gonzalez.
I'll call up the
Here.
agenda.
Sure. Sorry, I apologize. Had trouble getting my camera back on there. Let me just pull up the memo really quickly.
It's at page 103, Director, of the Vasella.
So we are looking to, we're looking to really make the right titles that are specific to the trades of skilled laborers within the Department of Environmental Services. So the first title that is listed there is a title for the Division of Public Property. We've brought more of our electrical and our HVAC and our plumbing repairs in-house. And we found that it would potentially, it's first off, it's a very skilled trade. And secondly, we might need either a full-time or a part-time person to do those services. And we actually don't have any part-time titles that are relevant. So we looked at the civil service titles and we looked at other municipalities' ordinances and found that the first title, which is the maintenance, repair, electrical, heating, and air conditioning, and full-time and part-time would be really helpful to us to hire the right skilled employee with those certifications. Then we also have in the Division of Parks, the maintenance worker grounds position. And these are laborers with skills in landscaping, landscape management, looking to really specialize rather than the titles of like laborer 1, 2, 3 that don't have specialties. So we're looking for both reorganizing to have some of our existing employees fill these positions who have skills in landscape management working in our parks already, as well as provide for future growth for employees into those positions. And then the third group there is the Superintendent of Public Works. Right now, you'll see that there is a Superintendent of Public Property in the salary ordinance, but there is not a Superintendent of Public Works. And providing the Superintendent of Public Works would allow us the flexibility, to really reorganize within our department. It allows for really increasing the depth in our organizational structure, having supervisors for each division who then report up to a Superintendent of Public Works. And then the last is the planning aid title. There is a planning aid title for full-time, but there is not for part-time. So we're just looking to provide the ability to have a planning aid who only works part-time rather than working full-time.
Council President or Council Vice President, I see she stepped away. If I may, Director, can I ask a question? This has been something I've pet peeve of mine for years now. Do we have written job descriptions for all of our titles in the city?
We have the civil service descriptions for the job titles.
Right, but we don't have specific titles and job descriptions for those titles in the city of Hoboken, do we?
Not that I know of, no. That's different than the civil service titles, no.
Yeah, I just think that's a major fail on our part. And this has been going on for years, right? This doesn't fall on you or anyone in particular. I think it's just one of those things that, and I'm quite honestly, I'm surprised that the unions don't advocate for that so that everything's spelled out, but that's their fight, not mine. I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we understand now, as you have to sit here and explain what these new titles may be, right, and how they're going to interact in the city. I think if we have this all written down and we have those job descriptions across the board, I think it's real easy for the council and anyone else for that matter to just simply pick up a job description and say, okay, that's what this person does, and now I understand that. So the advice that I would give you and everyone else in this administration and the administrations prior to this would be to start doing that, to start compiling written job descriptions for our employees so that, number one, they know what their duties are, and number two, everyone else knows what their duties are, and we don't have this back and forth all the time. Every time we have to change somebody or move somebody or hire someone new, we're going back over it. I think it would just be more efficient. I think more people would understand what's going on, and you as a director and anyone else wouldn't have to sit here and spend 5 minutes explaining it every time we do it. So just my 2 cents on it.
I certainly could have put the civil service descriptions with this memo for you. So in the future, I can definitely do that because the civil service job descriptions do really explain exactly what the roles and responsibilities and requirements of the titles are.
Yeah, and that may be the case, and it might be as simple as that, right? Like I said, it just makes it easier for you and everyone else. So
Yep,
I appreciate
for
it.
sure.
Thank you, Director.
Jimmy, any other council members? Motion to close?
Motion.
We closed
Second.
the, we closed the hearing already.
Oh, we did?
Okay.
So you can call the vote?
Yes, Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yes.
A hearing on an ordinance of the city of Hoboken and the county of Hudson, state of New Jersey, authorizing the execution of a deed of easement, granting an easement of certain city properties of the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection in connection with the Rebuild by Design Hudson River project.
We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Farina?
Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yes.
Hearing on an ordinance amending chapter 192 of the entitled Parking for Persons with Disabilities.
We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council members? Mr. Farina, call the vote.
Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yes.
Hearing on an ordinance authorizing special emergency appropriations for funding of revenue deficiencies due to COVID-19 pursuant to provisions of PL 2020 C.74.
We have no members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion.
Second.
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 Aye.
Aye.
Council members? Mr. Farina, call the vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yes.
Communications memo from Mayor Bala dated December 2nd, 2020, reappointing Ellen Stewart as Historic Preservation Commission as a Class C member for 4-year term effective January 1st, 2021, expiring December 31st, 2023. Memo from Mayor Bala dated December 3rd, 2020, reappointing Jason Friedman as Self-Insurance Fund. Proclamation from the City Council recognizing Mario's Pizza and his family for generous donations of food provisions for the Hoboken residents on Thanksgiving for the past 21 years. Miscellaneous licenses.
Mr. Farina, please call the vote.
Did I get the page? Okay, got it. Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Mr. Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye. I'm sorry.
President Giantino.
Yes.
Report from city offices, report from tax collector Sharon Curran for taxes collected for the month of November 2020 as $29,574,283.03. Abatement total $1,062,350.51. SID receipts $2,072.80. Report from the municipal court indicating receipts collected for the month of November 2020, $225,884.20. Report of self-fund claim payments. The claims total for this agenda, $4,931,933.49.
What was the change in claims?
The claims, $4,931,000.
What was the change?
The change, I don't know what.
There were 3 invoices from Riverside Testing that equaled $32,000 in change.
Total.
Yes,
I'm
equal.
sorry? Totaled.
Yep. Council members on claims? Mr. Farina, call the roll.
Mr. Cohen?
Aye.
Mr. Fusco?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Falco?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Aye.
Mr. Russo?
No.
President Giantino?
Yes.
Payrolls for December 12th, 2020, payroll $1,691,337.23. Overtime pay $60,512.18. Other pay $239,144.04.
Council members? Mr. Farina, please call the vote.
Mr. Cohen?
Aye.
The Fusco?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Falco?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Aye.
Mr. Russo?
Aye. Sorry.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
President Giantino?
Yes.
Consent agenda. Resolution.
What? We had someone in the, I don't know what to call it anymore, but I'll call it the waiting room, that had a phone number, but she's not there anymore, that wanted to speak.
Might have been Pat.
No, she's in there.
Mr. Volpe left at 9 o'clock.
Pinto, but it was her phone number, but it's gone now. I don't know if,
Okay.
start with council. Do council members have any resolutions they'd like to pull?
Council President, CD4, CC2, CC3, F7, and CL4.
CC2, CC3, what was the last one?
F7, CL4. Did you get CD4, the first one?
Yes, thank you. Other council members?
Nope. Council President, CL3.
And you already got CL4, Councilwoman Fisher, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other council members?
Council President, do we have to do F8 and F9 after new business, in new business, or can we do it all together? Since there are no ordinances.
Oh, yes, good point. Does anyone have any objection to that?
They were not on the agenda originally, but they're a new business.
F8 is a resolution approving the execution of an agreement with is at no cost to the city. And F9 is a resolution to approve an execution of an agreement with Heartland Payment Systems for online payment transaction fees for the Hoboken Police Department.
No, my question was just because they weren't noticed. Is that why we do them in new business, or can we just lump them in? I don't.
No, we can just put them in.
Okay. If Councilman Russo wants it, then let's give it to him.
Then absolutely not.
Thank you, Vixen.
9. F9.
Jimmy, we're going to add F8 and F9 to the consent agenda. So,
Council President,
yes.
On consent.
wait, Council President,
Well, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure regarding the chapter 159 for Elysian Park and Murray paving, chapter 159 have to be approved prior to voting on those two items. They were not pulled, right?
No. They'll all be voted simultaneously.
Yeah, E1 and F, or whatever.
F8 and 9.
Also, F9, we don't have certification of funds.
Okay, so we
So
can't
remove
vote
it?
on that?
Cannot vote on it. We don't have certification of funds for F9.
Pull it.
That's
pulled.
Which one's F9?
9 was the police department.
Transaction fee.
It would be at the end, the very end of the agenda, Councilman Fisher.
Oh.
It came through about 3 o'clock today.
Oh, you're calling it F9, but on the online agenda, it's just listed as number 2 under new business.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's not on the most recent.
F9 is a $1,500 contract amendment to process ABC registrations. I think that if there's a way to do certification in the meeting, or it was added by the finance department. So this is going to extend.
Was it added by the CFO? Or was it added by the director?
I don't know the answer to that.
Because the CFO has to sign off on it.
Okay.
You can certainly pass it. They can continue based upon the cost. If the council's comfortable, you can certainly pass it tonight, contingent upon the certification of funds being executed.
Why wouldn't we put that on everything?
You guys should know where the funds come from.
It's not best practice to do that. This is a extenuating circumstance.
Okay. Is everyone okay with that? I'm fine with it.
$1,500, I think so.
So, Corporation Council, can you just add the language contingent on?
Certainly, that'll be added to the resolution.
Thank you. All right, so not on consent, we have CD4, CC2, CC3, F1, I'm sorry, not F1, F7.
Right.
CL3 and CL4.
Right.
I'm sorry, Council President, which F was pulled?
F7.
7.
Thank you.
I don't even have the F7.
Mr. Farina, please call the vote.
Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
DeFusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yes.
Would you happy?
CD4, resolution of the City of Hoboken authorizing execution of an amended and restated redevelopment agreement by and between the City of Hoboken and Just Block 112 LLC for the redevelopment of a portion of the Western Edge redevelopment area designated as Block 112, Lot 1 in the City of Hoboken. Councilwoman Fisher?
Yeah, Council
Council
President, thanks. So this amendment was not brought through committee. The actual redevelopment, the amended redevelopment agreement actually wasn't even on the agenda until an hour before, so the public didn't get a chance to see it. The city council didn't really get a chance to see it. We asked for a black line version to see what the amendments actually were, and that wasn't actually sent through until the council meeting started. So I would like to make a motion to table this and just have it reintroduced in January. Let this go to committee so we can understand what the recommended changes are going to be, and also actually let it be on the agenda long enough for the public to see it, opine on it. It actually is an amendment that increases the envelope of the building by 30,000+ square feet. And so I think both the council and the public should have an opportunity. So I'd like to make a motion to table it, if anyone wants to second.
Council President?
Yes, Councilman.
Wait, I have a motion?
No, you don't have a second.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion to table, Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
DeFusco,
No.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Falco,
No.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
No.
Mr. Russo,
No.
President Giantino.
Yes.
Motion's tabled. CC2.
CC2, sorry, give me a second.
That's Wendell's Mark.
What'd you say?
Windows Marks. It's the
Marks.
hospital litigation.
Hospital litigation. Just caution everybody again.
Yep, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how much it was, that's all.
35,000.
Okay.
It's from 250 to 285. In total contract.
Yeah, can we,
This more likely than not is probably, in my estimate, maybe $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 more than you need to get to the end of the year, based upon, I'll say, the average months and what's going on, and the fact that this month is a short month, I'll call it. You know, because of the holidays, I don't anticipate as much work in previous months.
so you're saying like reduce it by 3,000? I don't think we need.
I don't know. I'm just letting you know that this is pretty much this is it for the end of the year. This
Got it.
This is the best estimate. And
there's no meetings between
a tiny
now
bit
and
of padding in there. But again, my padding just goes to surplus. My budget that was approved in the beginning of the year still has a substantial amount of money.
Good job.
I want to say it's over $200,000 still in my budget that has not been allocated to anybody.
Keep it that way.
Yeah. Is
This is it. So it's going to stay that way.
Is it possible?
That'll be changed by tomorrow.
Can we have another meeting in January?
Yes, absolutely. And by January, I would anticipate actually having much more information available to the council with regard to appraisals and things of that nature. So you'll have a better idea. You can have a much more robust conversation, I would hope, by then, is what I'm led to believe.
Okay, thank you. I'm okay to vote. I just didn't, it's still a blank on mine, so I didn't know what the number was. Council President, I'm okay to vote.
Sorry, the problem now is everyone can keep sending me messages during the webinar. Mr. Farina, please call the vote.
Mr. Cohen?
Aye.
DeFusco?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Falco?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Aye.
Mr. Russo?
Aye.
President Giantino? CC3?
Council President, so can you talk a little bit about this 35,000? How much have we given the Wiener Law Group this year? How much have we paid them? Not given them, but how much have we paid them?
We're at 90, and this will bring it to 125.
Thank you, Councilman.
Just
Sorry, Brian.
that's okay. No. That's this. Is this? Do they perform other services for the city?
All labor, right?
Is it just this?
When you say other services, I'm not sure. Like
Are there other?
Other than labor.
Washing the cars.
No. Are there other contracts other than like labor and employment?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I know they used to do some work for Chris Brown, but I believe he's changed attorneys.
Got it. Okay.
Ron used to do some work for him, so I think this is it.
And this is okay. Thanks. That's it.
We have no, sorry, everyone's done? Mr. Farina?
Mr. Cohen?
Aye.
Fusco?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Falco?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Aye.
Mr. Russo?
Aye.
President Giantino?
Yes.
F7.
Yeah. So again, mine. Director Freeman, the only number that I was curious about is the senior citizens division salary and wages, that 55,000. What is, and I'm a big fan of our seniors, but I'm just curious about what that number is.
Director Lindahl, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is related. Every year at the end of the year, and it staggers exactly what time of year we receive it, but we get a grant from the county. Oftentimes the last 2 years, it's come in after the close of the year. So we transfer the funds and then pick it up on the front end of next year through their grant.
Okay. Yes, that's fine. Thank you. And I think I remember hearing about that in the past. So that was my only question on this.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman, please call vote.
Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Mr. Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yes.
CL3,
Council President, that was me. Over the past 7 months, we've all obviously been living in a.
Wait, Councilman, let me just read it so
I'm
people
sorry.
don't.
Sorry, yeah.
Resolution urging the borough administration to communicate COVID-19 related city services to residents 55 and up via the U.S. postal system and offer door-to-door testing when available vaccinations. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. This council, this administration, this community has worked together to combat the ravages of COVID-19. We are at a place now, however, where we can begin to optimize some of the critiques that we did receive throughout the process. One of those was from senior citizens that lived outside of large senior buildings or institutional buildings in the more traditional walk-ups. Many had come forth claiming that they were unaware of services being offered by the city, funded by the CARES Act, as well as didn't have access, financial access to smartphones, computers, etc. I think we often take for granted, what it means to own a computer or own a smartphone, to jump on a Zoom call, and I know that the intentions from this council and the intentions from the administration were good and by and large hugely successful. Why I say we need to, continue to make this process even better and to serve every single resident of the city of Hoboken is for those small population of our community that doesn't have access to that technology, that live in walk-up buildings that aren't being accessed through some of the city's larger initiatives. So this resolution is meant to be collaborative. It's meant to be forward-looking because now we stand on yet another threshold, and that is the long-anticipated life-saving vaccine that started rolling out yesterday in Newark. And I think that door-to-door testing was a huge get for us, but door-to-door vaccinations are going to be something that we need to consider. Jersey City tonight is rolling out a $2 million allocation in their budget to open up testing facilities for their residents. So that's another conversation, but this resolution really aims, and I'd like to work with the mayor. I'd like to work with Director Freeman. It aims to help every single senior, whether they have access to smartphones and technology and whether they live in a big building or not, to make sure that they get the information, the access to city services, and that they can stay healthy and strong in 2021. Thank you, Council President.
You're muted, Council President.
Council President?
Yes.
I don't know, Councilman Russo, do you want to speak on this?
But you can go right ahead, Councilman.
Okay. I appreciate the Councilman DeFuco's remarks, but I think there's a disconnect between what he said and what's in the resolution. Because what he said is that by and large, we've been hugely successful in communicating with our seniors and giving them vaccinations. And I think he's right. I mean, we just, after having door-to-door testing for free in Fox Hill, Columbia Arms, Columbia Towers, Marion Towers, Adam Gardens, Monroe Gardens, months ago. We're doing it again now. And I don't know any other community where there's free door-to-door testing going through our senior buildings. I think it's extraordinary. And it's not just I think it's great. And the resolution calls for door-to-door testing as if it wasn't happening. And it refers to residents in Hoboken that have expressed dissatisfaction with the city's approach. So I don't understand the disconnect between the success, which is extraordinary, and describing the residents in the resolution who are aggrieved, observing with respect to door-to-door testing. There seems to be a disconnect here. I'm not really sure whether that was just bad drafting or just, you know, I'm just sort of missing it, because if the concept is that we should be doing better in terms of communicating with our seniors, I'm all for that. And I think that's a good goal. And I think it's happening on a day-to-day basis. You know, we've been filling up meals with notes, going door to door with our seniors. I know that when seniors want, I've been contacted by seniors in the 5th Ward who are housebound and couldn't get to testing. And I've been in touch with Director Pellegrini, and he's arranged medical transports from Health and Human Services to help those residents get that free testing. So I think the city's doing an awesome job here, and I'm all for doing better. But you know, so in spirit, I'm with you, Councilman. I agree with the spirit of what you're saying, but the letter of what's in here suggests that there's some kind of massive failings, and I'm missing that. You know,
Council President.
Yes, 1 second, Councilwoman. I do think, though, to me, the issue is the seniors that don't live in senior buildings. And I think it's that people are, you know, they're having them taken in a van from their house to the testing center. But the reality is we should just be having them tested at home, in my opinion. And if there's a way to do that, I'm all for it and supportive of it.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I think, first of all, I think the fact that people are complaining about this resolution is crazy.
I'm not complaining about the resolution.
Well, I mean,
about
the hidden criticism, the hidden political criticism. I think everyone, you know, we've had, after a slow start, we've had a great program with a select group of seniors in the city. It's seniors in the housing authority and seniors in our 6 buildings. And that's just not where all of our seniors are. And I think, you know, this comes from a couple seniors that don't live in any of the buildings that Councilman Cohen mentioned. We hear about it via the food pantry a lot. We get reverse inquiries. We get people frustrated that, you know, the city's meal program only went to those buildings. We have plenty of other buildings that aren't officially senior buildings that have are filled with low-income seniors. And I think what all this resolution does is say, let's figure out a different way of communicating so that we can just reach as many people as possible that are seniors, you know, within the city. And I think that we should all be supportive of that. And we hear people that come to the food pantry, for example, like you ask them for their email or anything, they're like, no, you know, they have a flip phone and they're only reachable by their phone. They never see an IXL. They don't have any idea what that communication is. And so for that age group, especially during this crisis, with all of, you know, being the riskiest age group, you know, with the greatest risk concerning COVID, you know, doing everything we can to reach them and reaching them by flyer, by many of them are Hispanic, putting flyers in Spanish as well. Like there's a need to do that. And hopefully that's something that this administration can do. So I think this is a great resolution. And I think it only just enhances what has been a good effort and just takes a good effort and hopefully makes it better and just reaches more seniors than the current programs have done.
Council President? Thank you, Council President. I just want to quickly add, I think everyone's really talked about this resolution and how we should be doing more, right? I think we have a great starting point. I think we have a lot of information that we've gathered over the course of the pandemic. I think we have a list that just needs to basically be compiled and start to be acted on. And I think Councilman DeFusco is correct in that sense. And what the standout in this resolution for me is not only the door-to-door testing, but the potential of vaccination. And I think that's really where we are in the state of this pandemic. Councilman DeFusco spoke about Jersey City and how they're setting up, I believe, 6 sites across the city for vaccinations. We in Hoboken should be doing the same. We should be trying to procure as many vaccinations as possible so that we could provide that same service like Jersey City and other cities across the state. I hope Director Pellegrini, who's been doing an outstanding job throughout all of this, is in fact doing that and making sure that we get in the city of Hoboken those vaccinations that are going to be vital for our senior citizens, our frontline workers, and our even our municipal and school workers. those are the people who I think should be at the front of the line. Those are the people who we should take care of first. I understand Councilman Cohen's concern about the language in this, and the point is well taken, right? But let's get it passed, let's get it done, and if we got to fix the resolution down the road, so be it. I'm not worried about the way it's worded. I'm worried about the action that we need to take once it's passed, because that's really where the rubber meets the road. So I hope everyone here supports it tonight.
I agree.
Mr. Farina, call the vote.
Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Thank you, Leo. Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yep.
Mrs. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yes.
CO4.
Yeah, so I just want to give like the 30 seconds on this. If people aren't aware,
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Hoboken requesting Hudson County's legislative representatives and Governor Murphy to advocate for additional municipal authority to generate revenues from cannabis sales to cover extraordinary public safety costs for Hoboken and other Hudson County municipalities expected to be most impacted by having closest proximity and access to New York City. Thank you. All right, Councilwoman Fisher.
That's next.
Is that wrong?
Nope, you're right.
sorry about that. For everyone's benefit, if you don't already know, tomorrow the state legislature is voting on, a comprehensive piece of legislation that is going to put in place all of the laws to affect the sale of cannabis in the state of New Jersey. And it's pretty long. And I've reached out to a couple state representatives within the last couple weeks just to start asking about how to get a greater allocation or have the ability for places like Hoboken, Jersey City, et cetera, to have a greater percentage of sales tax, let's say local municipal sales tax, or some sort of revenues from the sale of cannabis, so that we can address what I think are unique and extraordinary circumstances. And I know other people share my view that just having proximity to New York City, which has 11 million people in it, is going to make potentially have a greater burden on our community as well as those in Jersey City that have like transit hubs that are allow easy access from New York City into our town. So what this basically does is just starts an advocacy to the state. I mean, they're going to pass legislation tomorrow. This isn't meant to get in that way. It is expected that legislation will be amended, multiple times between now and probably the next 5 years. It will continue to be amended. So this starts a dialogue and says that, Hudson County is really unique and we need to be able to generate more revenues. We're going to probably make up the greatest percentage of the state revenues, both between Hoboken and Jersey City. And we really should get enough money in order to pay for additional additional enforcement, additional education to the extent that we want to allocate, and we can have concerns about social justice issues within Hoboken, just additional resources to be able to address our needs, because I think they're much greater than, some of the towns that are like in Western Hoboken. So that's just what this is. And hopefully everyone would join me. And honestly, everyone should reach out to our elected state representatives, Governor Murphy, even the ones that represent our neighbors, around Hudson County, but just encouraging them to really advocate for our special needs in Hudson County. So that's it.
Council
Yeah,
President?
and Council President?
Yeah, someone said it prior. I'm sorry, I couldn't.
I believe it was me.
Councilman Cohen and then Councilman DeFusco.
Yes, I have a request to Councilman Fisher about possible amendment to this. The way that this is set up, it really focuses on having revenues go towards public safety because of the unique issues relating to public safety. But I think that is unnecessarily narrow. In my mind, we've heard a lot about our public schools. and our charter schools, and we've heard so much about that. We've heard so much about the housing authority and our underserved populations. Why limit it to just enhancing public safety? Why couldn't we expand the scope of the whereas clause to include our underserved communities, our housing authority, and our public school district as well, and not just limit it to public safety? And would that be a friendly amendment to you?
So the answer is of course, but what I would tell you is we are already allowed 2%. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just kind of walking you through kind of my thoughts on it and why I didn't, because what you're raising, as I read through everything and just, I would say I have similar thoughts on how we get money in the right places within Hoboken. Right now, the law change is going to allow a 2% sales tax at a municipal level. So, and that can be used for anything, for everything that you mentioned, right? What I think of is the burden relating to being next to New York City increases. What I see more of is like enforcement and education for our police officers. I mean, I've spoken with, I think many people have spoken with Chief Rainey in the past. Chief Rainey has spoken in the past. They're concerned that not enough police officers are educated on being able to identify or how you identify that someone is high from cannabis, as opposed to an actual test that allows you to identify if someone has drank too much, like in a traffic stop, right? And so there's a lot of concerns with the police in general about the extra costs that are going to be required just to meet the basic needs. Now put on top of it, being adjacent to New York City, what that really is going to do to the areas, I think, around our transit areas is really feels more like public safety to me. So the incremental dollars I think of being spent on public safety. So the 2% is we can do whatever we want. This would just be saying, listen, we have extraordinary public safety related concerns given our proximity to New York. So that's just why I'm kind of happy to expand it, but I don't know. I think the argument that we should just get more to be able to give to the broader community isn't the argument that we're making. The argument that we're making is our community is being burdened more by people outside of the community that are creating the public health risk and public safety risk to our residents and themselves. Like, where's our extra resources to address those concerns? So that's why I wrote it the way I did.
I understand that. Well, I appreciate that you would treat it as a friendly amendment, and I do recognize that other communities are using cannabis tax funds for education purposes. I believe Jersey City is one of those places. And I think it's an opportunity for us. So I just would not want this resolution to limit the options in this resolution to just public safety. That's my only concern. So if we could expand it to include education, public education, and underserved communities, including our housing authority, I think that would expand the possible good that we could do with this funds.
Council President.
Councilman Ramos has his hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Council President.
School
Yeah,
teacher.
I think one of the debates that has been going on in Trenton with this bill is the social justice aspect of it, and the focus of that, and the acknowledgement that the Black and brown communities in the state of New Jersey and across the country have been really negatively impacted with the war on drugs in those communities. So hopefully, when we broaden this out, we do broaden it out with aligning it with the state legislature's focus on social justice issues, particularly around our Black and brown communities within the city of Hoboken, and really target that, because they paid the biggest price on the war on drugs compared to other communities. So while I definitely support Councilman Cohen's broaden scope of the amendment, but let's keep our eye on that focus, because that's what the state legislature really focused on and debated over the last 2.5 years. And that's the main impetus why it's taken so long to really get it passed, to try and get that proper acknowledgement and where that funding could go to try and rectify years of wrong in Black and brown communities throughout our state.
So
Generation.
let me,
Council President, I don't need to say anything after that. Said perfectly, Councilman.
can I ask a question though of this group before, wait, let me just ask this question of this group if we're considering an amendment. I want to know how do you phrase a justification for incrementally more money for Hudson County because of our proximity? Relating to social justice, because as I crafted this in the way that I felt that the 2% for Hudson County, just like the 2% for the entire state, can be used for whatever, but I thought Hudson County needed more money because all the people that are going to come into Hoboken to smoke pot, to go out on a Pier A, to go to, the bars around the path, was going to create more of an enforcement. So help me with the words of the amendment that says we, Hudson County, because of our proximity to New York, deserve more money for social justice related issues and Black and brown people.
Council President,
I want to just say one thing. I feel, Councilwoman Fisher, I feel that the way in which you're relaying this is a negative connotation. You're using words like burden and, all of the people that will come into Hoboken as if that's going to be problematic. We don't know that it will be problematic. We haven't looked at other markets or have learned that it has been in other municipalities. And I don't know that allocating this additional funding for police is actually the right way to go, because you don't know what the outcome is going to be.
Hey, Council President, if I could jump in,
Councilman Russo, stop. Councilman DeFusco has been waiting a really long time.
I did actually have the floor after Councilman Cohen, so it's really important to note a couple things. One, I was the sponsor of the zoning ordinance that laid out the district. I was the sponsor of the resolution, more importantly, in this topic, that outlined the cannabis benefits district. The cannabis benefits district it allows us to take these tax generated funds and use them for social causes, to use them for street beautification, to use them to build communities around the dispensaries. So this was already contemplated, a year and a half, 2 years ago, before this was even put up on as a referendum to the state. Where I just, cannabis is a psychoactive drug. It is a substance. It is scientific. It is not. That's what it does. It has psychoactive effects on a human being. My neighborhood, where these two dispensaries are going, has been more than patient. They have been extraordinarily patient with this government in regards to letting us figure out what works for everyone, that builds a better tax base, that fights, for a better social cause, that decriminalizes a substance that should never have been criminalized, attacking Black and brown members of our communities. So the first ward should be given a proclamation for allowing us to figure this out. Bottom line is, we've had bars downtown for as long as I've been in Hoboken, and triple that amount of time, that have been like Bourbon Street. We can't control them. We have fights that break out, even during COVID. Right now, it looks like the Wild West. The police officers do a phenomenal job, but there's only so much they can do. And you hear it all the time with Chief Ferranti saying, we just don't have the resources. We're trying to do the best with what we have. So Councilman Fisher's ordinance resolution here that I'm co-sponsoring is a direct plea from me as the representative of the district, representative of his neighbors who are going to live across the street from these dispensaries, which I support and which I have fought for, and which I will actually myself be a customer at, because we need to make sure that we have the enforcement downtown that we currently don't have, and we definitely won't have it when these things are built. So no amendments. The amendments for social justice, the amendment for creation of neighborhoods, that is already covered in the Cannabis Improvement District resolution. So this is real important to my neighborhood. So I want this money to go to the protection of my neighborhood. Sorry.
So the one
Council President, if I can.
Yes.
Thank you, Council President, and I appreciate everyone's view on this. I like many others have supported the legalization of marijuana for a long time. The reality is that when we have discussions like this, and Councilwoman, I don't think you're doing it purposely. I think it's just a concern, and just like Councilman DeFusco, it's a concern that you have, and I appreciate that. But the reality is, these conversations are exactly what we've been doing to combat over these years of the discussion of legalization. We don't want to put that stigma on the use of marijuana. If you look at other countries, take Portugal, for example, when there was legalization of drugs, not just marijuana, but other drugs, cocaine, heroin, all kinds of drugs, there was a huge spike for a very, very short time. And that spike actually decreased below the use before it was legalized. So the assumption that there's going to be increased crime or increased trouble or increased worries, I think is a false one, because there's no evidence, none that I've seen, and please, if you have it, please give it to me. But the evidence that I have seen is actually the opposite, right? So once there is a legalization, there is less money spent on the patrolling, on the arresting, on the enforcement of that drug, right? So there's money that will be saved through public safety because of that specifically, because of that change specifically. So I would suggest that we just advocate for a higher percentage overall and let the municipality do what it must as it must. If we have to increase our public safety budget because we see something, we will still have the ability to do that through our normal budget process. I don't want to go down the road where we're having these conversations and you're being your words are being misconstrued, right? I understand the concern, believe me, I do. But at the end of the day, those concerns have been they've been highlighted through the years as just another way to really oppress Black and brown members of our community, and that's the worry there. So I would just suggest that the simple amendment would just be to advocate for an increase in percentage rather than allocating it to one specific thing or multiple specific things. Just increase the specific percentage and let the municipality do what it must. Because remember, whether you agree with the administration right this second, the administration will change over time. And someone on the Zoom call right now may in fact be that administration in the future. And you want the ability to do what you must. So I always say, before you make a vote, think about the long-term effects. And I think just advocating for an increase in percentage is the proper way to go here. But that's just my opinion. So I hope my colleagues would.
Do you have a motion?
Let me just interject, because I don't always say this, but I'm not sure everyone has fully read the resolution. The resolution talks about the positives about bringing business to Hoboken. The resolution touches on the state legislation that has, is trying to commit, 70% of the sales tax of 6 and 5/8 that is raised to social justice issues. It touches on all that. It just specifically says that our communities are going to have a higher volume of people coming into our communities that will be positive potentially for the local economy, to the extent these people coming in, go out into the rest of Hoboken, they go to our restaurants, they go to our bars, etc. It also highlights that marijuana on its own isn't the issue, but when marijuana is combined with drinking alcohol, and it cites a couple very specific, actually it cites the National Institute of Health, it cites the CDC, saying that when they're combined, it doubles the public safety risk, it doubles the personal risks. And so this combination of a volume of population coming into our community means that we will have potentially unique issues relative to other communities. The So it's not meant to specifically, it doesn't say anywhere to specifically allocate. It just says that the 2% that they're already giving us may not be enough to cover what we have our extraordinary costs. So I just sent Councilman Cohen a note saying, if you look at the last whereas, like I read through it and trying to figure out like how to incorporate what he wants to do. I'm happy to include this concept of social justice because I do agree that it's absolutely critical. But it's what I'm trying to understand is how our proximity, how this group of people, and anyone, I'm open to input from anyone, how
What
this group of
demographic?
people feel that the proximity to New York is going to drive the need for this additional funding for social issues within our
Councilwoman?
community. So that's all I'm asking.
I think I may have some possible language.
Great.
So where you, in the last whereas clause where you have a reference to the cover, the direct funds, the quote is to cover the increased risk in our communities. After that language, I would insert or towards our public schools or towards underserved members of our community to address social justice issues or otherwise, which would allow for the funds to go towards public schools, go towards public justice, and towards I think that would give maximum flexibility to address that. And I do think, I just want to echo what Councilwoman Falco and Councilman Russo said. I think it's unintentional. I don't think it's intentional, but I think that as it's drafted now, there is a stigma that's being reflected here that we need to funnel money into public safety and only public safety because that is the risk that these dispensaries create. And I don't think that's the impression that this council wants to project. I think we fully embrace it. The voters of New Jersey fully embraced it in the national election, and we're fully behind it. And I also note that this council appointed Councilman Russo to serve on the board, and I think we should respect that. And I think that by broadening the scope to permit for, again, to address increased risks in our community or towards our public schools or towards underserved members in our community, including for the purposes of social justice, that would address the broader possible and would go a long way towards addressing the stigma that may unintentionally exist, which I think is real.
Councilman, I think the word risk is really, as Councilwoman Falco said, I think that's really one of the things that kind of sticks out to me. I think that by saying there's a potential increased risk feeds into that. And I think cost,
increased costs.
Increased cost, maybe. Yeah, just change that word.
Risk and make it cost.
Change that word does a lot to really change the narrative.
Make it increased cost instead of increased risk.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to.
I hope everyone gets the munchies and goes to the restaurants and fills them up.
And when you say schools, you do mean all schools. Let's not go down that road again, please.
All public schools, yes.
That's what I wanted to, Council President. I think it should be public education. I think not schools, because education is a much broader topic here, right? Adults need to be educated as well on the subject matter. So public education.
I'm not opposed to it at all. I just don't understand, like, why should we get those tax dollars for public education and not other municipalities?
This isn't.
It's not for Hoboken. It's advocating to the state legislators representing the entire state that this is good policy from a statewide perspective.
No, but it's saying for Hudson County, correct?
Yeah, it's saying this isn't asking.
That's lobbying.
This is not asking the state legislature to increase like the sales tax and give more to Hoboken. This is saying to the state legislature that right now all municipalities have the ability to put on a 2% tax on cannabis sales, but that's it, right? So whether it's Sussex County that doesn't have the same proximity to New York City or us, we both get to charge 2%. What'd you say? Oh, sorry. So all this is saying is we don't have the ability to say, oh, we'd like to charge 3% or 4% or 5% or 12%.
Being why, like, not, or why Hudson County and not Essex County? I understand.
Purely because.
We don't represent Essex County.
You know what? Listen, you know what? In all honesty, you guys, you know what? It sounds like people aren't going to support it. I'm happy to pull it. If you don't want to support it, I will pull it.
No, I think we're so close. I think
Listen,
this
this
very
is, think about it. If you read the resolution, I just give an example, and it's an extreme example. So I will say it out loud because I think most people haven't read the resolution. If on a Friday night, after this is passed, keep in mind, New York State has not passed, and they are not even close to passing allowing the sale of recreational marijuana in the state of New York, okay? So that is years off. Maybe it's 2 years off, but it doesn't matter. It's a big time frame off. So imagine on a Friday night, this passes, and the 1.6 million people in Manhattan or the 5 million more people in Brooklyn and Queens say, oh my God, I can legally go to New Jersey, I can buy weed there and bring it back. Or I can go to New Jersey, I'm going to go to the closest possible point. I'm going to get on the train. I'm going to go to Hoboken, get off the PATH train. I'm going to go to the dispensary that's a block away. I'm going to buy my edibles. I'm going to eat my edibles either right there on site because in the state law, it's allowing for consumption on site. Or if they don't want to do it there, they're going to go sit on Pier A, enjoy the view, eat their edibles, wait 20 minutes, and then they're going to go to one of the bars that is a block away. And so not only are they going to be high on cannabis, they will also then start drinking alcohol. And now we have an extra tons more people in an area that we already have our greatest concerns on weekends and costs of enforcement for the city of Hoboken in an area that is now potentially twice as bad and increased because the population of New York will first come to Hoboken or Jersey City. They're not going to drive to Sussex County to do that. They may, but for every one person that goes out west is 100 that are going to come into Hoboken.
Council President.
Hey, Council, 1 second. Councilman DeFranco and then Russo.
Come on.
Take cannabis out of this. We already have egregious quality of life issues in downtown Hoboken without medicinal cannabis and without adult use cannabis. I've, for the last 5 years, begged the police chief for foot patrols. My neighbors have been putting up with noise complaints. It is literally the Wild West in my neighborhood. And the notion that we're somehow, this is somehow not an issue and it's all of a sudden going to be an issue with cannabis is a bridge too far. The additional foot traffic of any new restaurant, any new business, or any new dispensary is going to create a larger burden on my neighborhood. It is a fact of life that you program a new retail space, you are going to create new consumers. This isn't about cannabis. It is about markets of scale. It is about like logic. I need funding downtown. Please help me. This cannot last any longer where my neighbors are begging me and I'm begging the police chief on a Thursday night that there's a homeless person pissing on a bush. I speak very flat out because this is what we put up with. So this notion that, you know, we need more public education, it's true, but it's already covered. So listen, the quality of life issue for me. As we begin to see new businesses of all kinds come into Hoboken, we need more resources downtown. This is an opportunity we have at a state level to get us more funding for it. So it is not because of being pegged to cannabis. It is because this is a new law, this is a new opportunity for us to source funds for community policing, for public education, and for an overall quality of life for many cities. But I'm only selfishly caring about my downtown community. So that's I get it. I don't want it to be. I don't want it to seem that this is.
I'm sorry. Did you hear me?
Come on. Yeah. Outside the Wilton House. Come on, Jimmy. That's where it all happens.
There's a snowstorm out here. You know, you're in your nice, comfortable house.
But no, but this is the problem with politics is that
wait,
there is
Jimmy.
a
I'm
true
sorry.
social
Forgive
issue
me.
here.
I'm all right.
No worries. There is a true social issue here that everybody on this council and everybody in the city has stood behind. We've worked together. We are doing this together. We are on the leading edge of this. But there's also a basic quality of life issue that has gone unaddressed. And this resolution is simply attempting that. So I am all about adding in the language about community policing and public education. But let's not twist it to make it seem that Councilwoman Fisher or myself or anybody that is, like that wrote this resolution doesn't understand or isn't fully supportive of the social justice causes. This is a quality of life resolution.
So is there a motion?
Council President, just quickly, just 2 points. I understand, Councilman, I understand your point, but I just don't want to mix apples and oranges here. I think that advocating for increased patrols and making sure your neighborhood is safe is absolutely warranted, but I don't want to tie that to this specifically. Two, Councilwoman, I know you understand supply and demand. A quarter ounce over in the city from an illegal vendor versus a quarter ounce over in Hoboken from a legal vendor is much cheaper. No one's getting on a train. Believe me, I promise you. They're going to buy what they normally buy. They're going to smoke where they normally smoke, because in the city, no one really gets locked up for smoking a joint. The reality is that is not going to make a major difference. People who choose to come to Hoboken are going to come to Hoboken regardless. And if they're drinking, that's really where Councilman DeFusco has a point. It's more the alcohol. I don't think it's going to be the use of cannabis in his neighborhood. I think it's the alcohol use. I think there are other concerns. I don't want to word this in a way where anything is misconstrued. And I don't think anyone did that intentionally. And Councilman DeFusco, I think you're absolutely aware of it. It was probably just an oversight in the word that was chosen. I think by changing one word and adding a couple things, this thing passes unanimously. So I would hope that we do that. So if Councilman Cohen's going to make that motion, or Councilman DeFusco, if you're going to make that motion, whoever's going to make the motion, I'll second it. We'll move it forward and end this discussion.
I think we're there. Yeah, that's really well said. I think we're there. Can we just recap the two core changes that we're making?
Yeah, I'm trying to make it. Councilman Cohen sent me language, which I don't think it like fits into the sentence. So do you want to?
The last whereas, it doesn't even have the word risk in it. Which whereas are you talking about?
So
it's
Cohen,
the first whereas. The first now therefore be a
oh, that one. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So it's not the whereas. Okay.
No.
Yeah. So the now, but what I did do, because people didn't like the word risk, risk is only mentioned twice. So if you were, and if everyone's okay, I'm going to make these changes per our conversation, and I'll send a clean version so it could be sent. It doesn't have to be handwritten. So if you go to the third whereas from the bottom, so the third whereas up from the now therefore be it resolved, there's the word risk is in that sentence just before outlined above. I'm just going to replace risk with the word potential costs. So we've removed risks.
And Councilman Fisher, can you explain why things are underlined and other things aren't, or is that
just for emphasis?
Okay.
So that people that don't want to read the whole thing can just read the things that are underlined.
Maybe we could remove the underlining,
I'm happy to
because
do
that tends to emphasize the things that we may not.
I'm happy to do that.
So
I
we're
will
changing
remove
risk to cost, which is a financial term. Perfect.
Potential
And
cost.
Potential cost. Good one.
costs are not financial, but they don't have to be financial. They can be social. So replacing that word risk with potential costs, and then in the now, what'd you say?
The initial be it resolved with the first
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, so this is where,
So instead, where it says, instead of burdening taxpayers
hold on. Yep, instead of burdening taxpayers,
to cover the potential,
the
costs.
potential, and then what you sent me, so
and then
the,
what I sent you. Yeah.
the potential increased costs in our communities, hold on, comma,
Or towards our public schools.
Can you define all public schools there, Phil?
That's why we said public education.
towards public education. Yep,
Towards public, or towards underserved members of our community, including causes of social justice.
all right, so increase costs in our community.
These were solid changes. Thank you, Councilman Cohen and Russo for proposing them.
Perfect, okay.
So I would move that those amendments be incorporated into Councilwoman Fisher's resolution.
Yep, and I am happy to.
We're gonna do a voice vote unanimously?
Oh, we'll take the vote.
Are you suspecting someone's going to vote no? Mr. Farina, call the vote.
Mr. Cohen,
Aye.
DeFusco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Mrs. Falco,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Jabour,
Yes.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
President Giantino.
Yes.
Edibles all around.
Now, wait a minute. I want to make a, Councilman DeFusco.
Yes,
The
Jimmy?
Wilton House closed 11 minutes ago.
I know. I'm sorry for talking so much. Last call.
Done.
Yeah, just for everyone's benefit, or for Jerry and Jimmy, I just made the changes on a document. I will send it to you so it's a clean version that can be
And
sent.
we'll send to the Corporation Council. Thank you.
Perfect.
We still have public portion.
Yes.
Any
Yep.
attendees in the waiting room that wish to speak in the public portion, please raise your hand. Some of you already have your hand up, so thank you for that. Ms. Waiters, can you unmute yourself, please?
Hello, Pat Waiters.
Perfect. You're up, Patricia.
I waited patiently, so please, nobody don't interrupt me. First, let me talk about the Seward Authority appointment. Did everybody get my application? Did all of you council people get my email? Did you see what I put when they asked me about adding attached documents with respect to my qualifications and my skills? Anyway, I didn't put that, but I put a nice little note that I want to be taken very serious, mentioning how the last 20 years or more, how the appointments are being made for those particular boards and those committees. Thank God, and I want to be taken real serious with this. We all see what's going on in the whole world, all worldwide, with respect to biasness and racism and stuff. I tell y'all all the time, I can't refrain from getting emotional, but I put that there intentionally because there has never been a Black person on the Sewage Authority. And shame on y'all, y'all make these appointments. With respect to tonight, Ruben, I give you kudos for even mentioning social justice. Because if you didn't mention it, I noticed nobody else was. You is not going to hide and avoid the fact that Black and brown people has been mistreated for centuries. It's systemic in Hoboken. It's not going to go away. And y'all should have learned from Donald Trump's run just with this last election. Y'all chairs is up, the mayor's seat is up, council at large seats is up, and it's going to come a time where y'all seats be up again. People keep stuff in their heart, people keep stuff on their mind, their family members remember, and it's not right. So I hope when y'all vote this time, vote with a conscience, because the housing authority right now is a mess. And this don't have nothing to do with you, Ruben, because you down there doing the best you could do. Y'all, I applied for a commissioner seat down there for 20 years. I know more about the legislation than they do themselves. I was willing to go to the class. I went to the legal municipalities and attended all the housing authority classes. And you guys still will not put me on that board, because it's nothing but politics. And in the meantime, all of the people down there that look like Pat Waiters still call Pat Waiters, and it's a mess. People tampering with the list, making phony contracts, and so on and so forth. That's why y'all don't put me there, because I'm going to do what's right. I will change housing authority forever. I told you guys that. I'm tired of the way they're being mistreated. And tonight, Mr. Cohen had the nerve. It's getting me so upset to say 3 times underserved. Underserved. You see? Watch what you say about black people. It's disgusting. You said well, we could give the money to the underserved. Are we being acknowledged now? The underserved? How dare you? It still sounds so biased. The minute you say cannabis or weed or whatever, have you ever, Tiffany gave the scenario where they come off the train and come and get the weed and go sit on the waterfront. I guess lately y'all haven't been on the waterfront on the weekend, and I don't see not one black person. Not one. Speaking about the waterfront, I told y'all I am very involved in this community. I will tell you where every little T get crossed, where the I's be put. I ride up and down my streets, and it hurt my heart tonight. I'm not against this resolution, what you just said, Mike, and I understand about your part of the community. 2, 3, 4 in the morning, you got people from these shelters sleeping in the housing authority, drugs everywhere. I'm up down there myself the other night. I want to thank the chief. 17 cop cars when Pat Waiters called. Because, see, I don't play. And it bothers me because on the weekends, all the wild bar parties, all of them peeing outside, I walk up, I bring my friends from Jersey City. They say, where are the black people? Not one. And you're going to say, oh, well, a risk. Oh, well, the people going to come over here and do this and that. They can get drugs without a cannabis shop. Thanks, Mike. Tell them. They can get it. You should be concerned about the shelter line wrapped around the corner where the county buses is, from what I'm hearing, dropping these people off, Tiffany. They don't have to jump on the train. It's accumulating. These people is everywhere, robbing and stealing. Our safety is at risk, our public safety. You must have not been at that shelter. When are we going to get it together? Please. I'm wrapping it up with this. I had to with this. The pay to play. It gave me the chills. When they so-called said that Tiffany and them table to pay to play, remember, all of y'all seats was up. And every election, yes, it is politics. The ones that's running against the opposers, they always come with some type of legislation with pay to play. But it's going to be there. Now you got your 3 council at large seats up, and Mayor Ballard's seat is up with the runoff. Could you imagine that? So now all of a sudden they're going to talk about pay to play. The people are watching. This is for the people that's watching, the people that Pat Wade has been knocking on doors. We got an opportunity to change this city forever. Please, with respect to them 3 council at large seats and the mayor seat, I wish the people come out and feel my frustration and talk about social justice and talk about people like me when y'all say equality and diversity. We deserve to live here too. Thank you, Jen. And I'm sorry. Please just let me know about whoever didn't get an application for the sewage authority, and when will that appointment be on the agenda? Because I was under the impression that it was on today.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. I don't know what I just did there. Hello, Miss Brennan. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Hi, Council President and council members. My name is Sheila Brennan, and I'm calling with some strange information. Over the past week or so, I've been getting some weird phone calls. that I couldn't quite imagine why people were calling me about these issues. One guy called me and asked me how he could be taken off from getting notifications for severe weather events from Hoboken because he doesn't live here anymore. Another person called me about not being able to renew a parking permit. And at first I thought to myself, why are they calling me? And oh, they must be calling me because they're finding my number on, I'm a real estate agent, so maybe on my company's website. But then I thought, but still, why would they be calling me? Another guy called me about a dog license, and another one ended up showing up at my door and ringing my bell in the evening. I was cooking, and my intercom doesn't work, so I buzzed him in, as I tend to do because it's usually FedEx or UPS or whatever. And I ended up getting a knock at my door from some strange guy who was complaining about a parking ticket and parking regulations. And I'm thinking, dude, what are you doing at my door? And it was really strange. So I tried to figure out why I'm getting all these calls. And I went on the city's website. I'm on the rent board. So I thought, well, maybe that's it. But then I went on the rent board and nobody else's contact information is up there, except I see that my cell phone number, my personal email, and my home address with my apartment number are on the city's website. And all these people are saying to me, I can't get anywhere at City Hall, so I'm desperately looking for a number to get some help with these issues. And I'm thinking like, well, I know we have COVID and, you know, things are tough and the city, you know, not very many people are working in City Hall right now, but people are working from home. So why are you calling me? But why is my information up on the city website? And I find it, I don't know, more than a little creepy. And so I'm calling you guys to ask, what do I do to get my personal information off the city website? I can't help anybody with their dog licenses or their parking tickets or their nixels or whatever. So, you
sure
know.
we can get it removed,
Council
Sheila.
President?
Yeah.
First, I just want to say thank you from all of us, so we didn't have to take the call. We have the person at my door, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, right, exactly. Happy to help, but.
Council President, I just, for what it's worth, I just like Google searched Sheila on our site. And actually, I don't know if you can share the site. It's kind of funny.
No, we don't need to see it. Or
Well,
put it in
what's
front of
funny,
it.
no, but what's funny is it's actually lists her as a city council member.
Well,
that explains a lot.
There's no
Yeah.
reason to put
The
it.
easiest campaign I ever ran.
Congratulations, Sheila.
Thank you. Happy to serve. But I mean, honestly, I don't know. I just don't really need my personal information splashed all over the city's website. I don't think anybody else's information is up there for public consumption. And, you know, I live alone, me and my cats, and, you know, I'd like to kind of be under the radar a little more.
I'm
you
sure
know?
we can get it removed, Sheila.
Yeah,
Great.
I'm sure it'll be
Thank-
taken care of.
Director
Thank you
Freeman,
so much.
Director Freeman, who
I'm
runs-
working on it right now.
Oh, you found it?
I found it. Yes.
Who runs our website?
We have there. It's
Frank.
we have our own internal. Each director and department has access to their pages. Then we also have a third-party company that manages the overall functionality of the website.
Yeah.
Referred to as the Dream Team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms.
Do they have
Brennan.
job descriptions?
Hopefully it will be taken care of shortly.
Great. Thank you,
I will-
guys. Good evening.
directly with you.
All
Happy
right.
holidays.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Holidays, Sheila.
Bye.
No, really, I've had less phone calls in like the past week. Might have
Call
been.
Sheila.
Sheila.
You did that.
All right, we have no other members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion to close.
Great.
Motion.
Motion.
All in favor?
New
Aye.
business.
Aye.
One comment, if I can.
No, that was a motion to close the meeting, right, Councilman Cohen?
Happy holidays, everyone.
I'm going to abstain from that vote.
Councilman Ramos?
Yeah, I just want to thank Corporation Counsel and his office for work on a Zakalama property. The construction demo permits were pulled yesterday. They were going to start demolition on Friday. Because of the weather, it's going to happen on Monday
Oh,
Congratulations.
now. So I want to thank Corporation Counsel and his office for being very helpful throughout the process with that. So Monday we can go there and have a party, tiki party, with edibles in a couple of weeks.
Council President, just a very brief thing.
one sec. I'd like to reopen public portion. Someone didn't know they had to raise their hand. Motion to reopen public portion.
Motion. Second.
Second.
Aye.
Thank.
Good evening, people. This is Alex Garcia from 614 Washington.
Alex, just from now on, you got to raise your hand. Like,
That's something new. Okay, got it. I wasn't aware of it. My apologies. Hi, Council President. Just three things.
Remember the Calabro days, Alex?
I'm telling you, dude. I'm gonna get detention from Mr. DeBaccio. I'm telling you. So quickly, listen. Three things quickly before to let you guys go. I think the dispensaries tax is a great idea. Honestly, I think it will bring many funds that the city needs from the government, especially more police officers on the ground. I've seen basically so many hooligans here on Washington Street. As me being a resident on Washington Street, I think that'll be a great idea. Let's not think about the negative aspects. Let's think about the positive aspect. What's going to bring out of it? What we could gain out of it? You know, someone being who was a former nightlife, entrepreneur, you could say. I always saw the benefits and the cons. So right now, basically, it's going to become legal. Now let's look at the positive side of it and how we could benefit out of it. That's my personal opinion in that sense. Secondly, this past weekend, they had an employee basically that works at Mikey Squared, and right now they're making pennies to the dollar. And she showed me, Alex, look at this parking ticket. And I look at it, it's like, listen, and here's the receipt that I paid for it. We need to address the parking authority where they need to be more alert, or I'm not sure there's a glitch in the system, but she's not going to go out of her way to basically miss a shift where she's barely making any ends meet to go to court, go to Zoom to pay a parking, to fight a parking ticket. This is insane. I'm going to be honest with you. My license is suspended for so many parking tickets that I didn't even call for. It took me years to restore my license. It took me. I'm a person basically who my daughter lives in Dover. My license got suspended. I had to take the train weekly, so I felt her pain. I felt how she went through, and then she's like, Alex, I know you fought for the last time for Hoboken. When the prices went up for the rates, can you help me out? I'm like, listen. All I could do basically is bring you to the city council meeting. I'm gonna get I got a phone number for her who she needs to speak to. She could find it. But let's be realistic. During these holidays, a lot of towns don't pay parking meters. They don't. Union City, Jersey City, they don't pay. You see bags over the parking meters. Why is it Hoboken can't do it? You guys giving us a parking garage. Oh, you buy something here, they get $5 free, 5 hours free. This is not cool, honestly. What makes Hoboken so different? Union City is a way larger town. Jersey City as well. And they have free parking during the holidays. Why can't we do that? That's an honest question, Council President. Why can't Hoboken do that? I've been asking since last year. Now we got an employee at Mikey Square who has to fight a parking ticket for the ends meet that she's making here tips, because there's no business coming in Hoboken regardless. It's not fair, especially during these times. And again, I'm sorry to bring this up again. It's something that you guys should really look into. Maybe next year, where the holidays come up. But you know what? Let's get free parking for the city of town for a week or two. What you got to lose? You did it during the pandemic. Why during the holidays, 2 weeks? It doesn't hurt a lot, honestly. If we could do it through the pandemic, why can't we do 2 weeks to the holidays? Especially now. Especially now. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, guys, to bring it up, to close it out like this, but it's something that the employee downstairs, she's a great person. She's a great worker. She's a hard worker. And I see the business is suffering. The Mikey Square was closed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, closing. They're opening only now from Thursday to Sunday because they're making ends meet, the businesses. And now they're getting slammed with parking, erratic parking tickets. It's not fair to them. You should do at least free parking for at least 2 weeks to the holidays. That's my personal opinion, at least. That's it, gentlemen. Listen, happy holidays. Merry Christmas. God bless. And I'll see you guys next year.
Have a great one. Take care.
All right.
We have no other members of the public signed up to speak. Motion to close public portion.
Motion.
Second.
Favor.
Aye.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Be well, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Someone just disappeared. The meeting
Have
even
fun.
being. We just
Motion to
lost.
close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Happy New Year, everybody.
All right, bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Enjoy. Have fun.
What do you got there, Jimmy?
Water.